Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us live now on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and youtube.com @Pride of Detroit. And wouldn't you know it, the Lions have now made it 2 in a row in the playoffs. My energy is finally coming down from its psychotic hysteria, and I want to keep living in this moment. I want to keep living in this moment right now. And we're going to talk about how cool this moment was for us as Lions fans. We have to break down the game for us as Lions commentators as well. We have to talk about San Francisco. We have to talk about a lot of things on a very short period of time when emotions are still high, and they deserve to be high because this team set out to do a promise. We started this year talking about how this energy felt different. And boy, has it been different. And boy, what a journey it has been so far. And there's more to come here soon. Don't call it a Cinderella story, because the Lions deserve to be here fighting with the best of them, because they are one of the best of them. I'm Chris Perfett, the adequate host, at Chris Perfett on Twitter, PERFETT. Joining me, as always, the fearless leader, Jeremy Reisman, at Detroit on Lion, a man who is like me, trying to keep the energy still going, because it is bliss. It is bliss.
Yeah. I mean, I actually got a pretty good night's sleep, but I still feel like I'm a little bit emotionally exhausted just for how hype everything was last night, how exciting it was to be in the building and see Ford Field blow the roof off for a second week in a row, and just the emotions of it all. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've teared up about a dozen times just hearing other people's stories, thinking about my own story and how, the journey of my fandom and who brought me here, and the luck that I have to be in the position I'm at, to witness what I'm witnessing. It's a lot. It's a lot to bear as a fan, and it's not something that any of us are ever going to forget.
And Ryan Matthews, at Ryan_POD. How have the emotions been for you, Ryan? How has everything been for you in the 24 hours since watching Derrik Barnes pick off Baker Mayfield to seal the game?
Jared Barnes or Derrik Barnes?
Derrik Barnes. I said Derrik Barnes.
Okay. Anyways, so no, you didn't. But okay. Doesn't matter. Neither here nor there. The fact of the matter remains that, there was the little bit of talk from Dan Campbell after the game where he was talking about what it meant for the city and how he's built this football team, like in the image of the city that it is. And, talking about the auto industry. And if any of you have been around for long enough, you remember Wally's World. And, it feels like I was kind of brought along on this track of Lions fandom. Like I didn't have any choice in the matter, because it's what my dad did, and it's what I was, given as a kid was this Lions fandom. And, it feels very, very satisfying. Yeah. Tough to work through all those emotions. I guess I can kind of echo a lot of the sentiment that Jeremy, had to say. There's been moments where, like I talked about it last night, right? Like going to the grocery store and even, making turns on streets and things, and thinking about like, oh man, like the football team that I've rooted for my entire life is in, territory that I've never witnessed them in before. So, it just continues to be surreal. I think surreal is the best way to describe it. Because at each and every turn of today, it's been surreal.
There's been moments where I've stopped, where I've seen the game on a television somewhere. I just stopped and watched it for like 10 minutes at a time, just taking it all in, knowing how this thing's going to end. And it's just, yeah, it's fun listening to people talking about the Detroit Lions. It's fun even seeing guys like national guys, Steve Levy, talking about how he's just now getting his hearing back from Ford Field. Mike Florio, of all people, being like, Detroit was awesome and people were awesome to us in Ford Field.
People were nice to Mike Florio. That
Well, apparently to his crew.
Get your shit together,
to
Detroit.
Pro
That's not
Football
okay.
Talk, not to Mike Florio, according to him.
Right.
So, but still, like there are nice things being said about Detroit. There are nice things being said about the Detroit Lions. Not just nice things for the sake of saying nice things. There's not a pat on the head. How cute is this kind of moment? There is an acknowledgement that this is a new era for the Detroit Lions. Time is not in a capsule. Teams that have been bad forever don't stay bad forever. And I think people have realized how Dan Campbell has, using Bob Seger, turned the page. How this is new, and not only that this is the Detroit Lions belonging exactly where they belong, in an NFC championship game with a roster that is good enough to play for an NFC championship title.
I think that's a really good point, particularly that not that I give a damn about what the national narrative is, but it does feel like the Lions have graduated from this Cinderella isn't this cute story. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Detroit Lions. And I haven't seen anyone suggest that the Detroit Lions don't belong amongst those four teams. You know, we're talking about three teams here that have been the model of consistency in the modern era. We're talking about three teams that expect to be here every year. We're talking about three teams with elite quarterbacks, elite offenses, head coaches that are well respected, and now the Detroit Lions are right there amongst them. And yeah, I haven't. I'm sure there are some naysayers out there, most of them probably wearing Vikings uniforms, that think the Lions don't belong amongst that group. But I haven't. It has not been a loud group if they're out there, and that's where we're at today. That the Lions are now considered amongst that NFL elite, and if they do it for a couple more years, the expectation is they are going to be there every year. They are going to get that same Steelers, Ravens, Packers treatment where it's just like, this is where the franchise is at, and that's what the goal has always been for this franchise, right? That's one of the things that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes said in their introductory press conferences some 3 years ago, almost to the date, is that we're not looking to get a championship here. We are looking to be a model of an organization, and the fact that they've gotten to where they are right now in 3 years is still jaw-dropping to me. Absolutely jaw-dropping that they were able to get the kind of reputation for this franchise that has been so elusive for 70 years. They got there in 3 years from the ground up. That needs to be celebrated more, because that is not easy. That is not common. That is something that's just absolutely incredible about where this franchise is right now and the people that are in charge of it.
There were times where you look at the past, Ryan, like the Chiefs were the easiest team on an AFC West schedule. Denver Broncos, before they had John Elway, losers. Patriots used to be losers. It feels like that moment where things changed.
Yeah, I think things are changing though. Like it's currently, and it's progressive, and it's moving forward. And I think that's one of the most important things to underline, is that this isn't temporary. This isn't ephemeral. This doesn't all just vanish, whenever it does, right? It doesn't all just go away and then it's all back to square one back in, it doesn't all go back to square one next August. When the Lions ramp up for their following season. Like this is here to stay, I think. And I think the other point too, though, is I don't think nationally the Lions are getting the respect that either of those three teams are. And I live in a household again where, there's somebody who watches First Things First, and there's somebody who watches First Take, and you have Stephen A. Smith saying some not nice things about Detroit as a city. And the first time they bring up the Lions on First Things First, it's, Baker Mayfield had a pretty good season though, right?
Maybe it's I'm on the other side, because like I'm hearing Cowherd, one of his, it's subject number 2 out of his mouth, after Bills and Chiefs. It's Detroit belongs here. So maybe I'm just looking at different shows.
We all live in our own bubbles. We all live in our own bubbles for sure. I'm just saying that like nationally, I don't think that a lot of people think that the Lions belong with these teams, and that's fine. Like they have their own opinions, right? They can keep their own opinions. And how many Lions games have they watched this season? I don't know, but I'm just saying that we know what's going on here, and it doesn't end when this ride comes to an end, whenever it does, right? It's going to keep going. So
the other point I want to make here, and maybe it goes along with this a little bit, because the Lions, I mean, to Ryan's point, the Lions are 7-point underdogs, right? In the conference championship round. Like there's at least somewhere a public perception that the Lions aren't on the same level as the 49ers if that line holds all week. And I imagine in the first 24 hours now that it has held pretty steady, it probably will continue to do so.
I think it actually opened 6.5 and moved to 7, actually.
Well,
so it was moving even more towards San Francisco.
So they're a bigger underdog than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who everybody in Detroit was overlooking, right?
Right.
So.
But I mean, first of all, that's where this team's comfort zone is, right? From like playing the other underdog. They love to play the underdog. They love to feel underappreciated. And so they're going to be right at home in San Francisco on the road, where the expectation is for them to lose by a touchdown. But the thing that I admire about this team, and I just talked about the franchise and the people in charge of it, but the players to me continue to blow my mind at how cavalier they are about all this. There's so much weight of this team's history on their shoulders, and it's almost like they're too ignorant, they're too young to even naive maybe to even understand. And that's why, like, I can't shake the Dan Campbell post-game press, or not post-game presser, the locker room celebration, where he turns to the team and he like screams, "Do you understand what you're doing right now? Like, the fact that you're doing all of this, I mean, every single challenge this team has faced. Oh, you've never played in a game like this, that the Packers are a win away from making the playoffs, and you got nothing to play for. You've never been on a stage like this in national TV. It's too big for you. You're not going to make it." Pfft. Lions beat the Packers. Oh, opening week, they gave you the Chiefs good luck, buddy. You're not ready for a championship caliber team on banner raising night. No big deal. 5 more national games, they win them all, including in Dallas. Yeah, they win that game.
We gas up the Vikings.
Oh yeah,
sweep them.
NFL, yeah, the division's on the line. Hatton T-shirt game. You guys have never been here before. It's been 30 years since you guys won a division. Good luck trying to win it on the road in a division game. Pfft, no big deal. Big boy Matthew Stafford's coming into town. You guys haven't won a playoff game in 32 years.
You didn't want to see.
The one team you didn't want to see, and oh boy, the narratives are going to be hot. Pfft, who cares? We got it. It's in the bag. The fact that this young-ass team, the 5th youngest team in football, just continues to shrug their shoulders at the thing in front of it. I mean, when we get to the playoffs, every single year, it's like, which team has been here the most seasoned teams? They know how to win in January. You need to be able to have those veteran guys on your team. No, you don't. You just need to have confidence MFers, and the Lions got a full roster of those guys that just, they look at this moment and they don't care about the history. They don't care about the stakes. They don't care about how many people are watching them on national TV. They are not caring about how many people are picking the other team or how hot the other team is. They're just going out there and balling week after week after week after week. And so, yeah, I'm sitting here on a Monday. The Lions are 7-point underdogs in the NFC Championship game. And you know how I spent most of my morning? Working on Super Bowl credentials. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah. I walked by guys stocking a vending machine at my place of work, and they were talking about how much they wanted to see the Lions in the Super Bowl because they were tired of the other teams. There is this sense that Lions are America's team, and you're going to see a lot of people jumping on board with it. You'll see some people poo-pooing it too. No one is universally loved. But I think what it is in the love, fear, respect categories, Lions have a lot more respect now. From maybe not from everyone, but certainly across the board, from local fans too. That is as loud as it's ever been in Ford Field. We said it before the season, Jeremy, as we watched how many Lions fans were coming to practices, that this feels different. We've never seen Detroit and Michigan rally around a Lions team like this before. There was something different in the air. And how rare is it? Can we say that? And then it turns out to be true. Not only true, but true beyond, I think, even our dreams. How, like, to do what Lions fans have done and you're absolutely right about this team too, because they've had this attitude like, all that stuff we talk about as fans, as commentators, about the emotions and everything. This team almost feels like they're just exactly what Dan Campbell is. Just barking and chewing away no matter what. Like they don't seem to you're right. They don't seem to understand what they're doing, because if they did, the moment would probably rise up and swallow them. Would swallow anyone with just how emotional it is. And they don't care, because this is a bunch of professionals. It is professional. This team is beyond, it is young, but it is beyond professional in its years, in its actions, and how it plays football.
I guess we're out of things to say.
No, here's the thing that I want to go back to Jeremy's point about maybe this team being too naive for the moment, right? It's Derrik Barnes accepting that game ball, and who does he give it to? He gives it to the linebackers room, right? Like he gives it to the guys that believed in him, like Alex Anzalone and Shep. Like he gives it to those guys, because this is the difference with this football team, is they're not playing for 60 years of futile play. They're not playing for 60 years of an 0-16 team and being the laughing stock of the NFL. They're playing for one another. None of those guys were alive when any of that stuff was happening. They're playing free from that, and they're playing free from that because of the guy who's leading them, and because it's one of the foundation tent poles of this organization is accountability and playing for the guy next to you. And all these guys are just playing for one another. It doesn't matter who's lining up across from them. They're playing for their coaches. They're playing for the guys who are lining up next to them. They're playing for one another. And that all starts from the top down. And I think one of my favorite moments from Dan's presser today was, I love the comment from Jared Goff talking about he's the greatest leader I've ever been around. And Dan Campbell responding like, hey, like, I don't know what to really say about that other than like flattery. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's just an awesome thing that's going on.
It's cool. It's cool. It's just damn cool. And it's damn cool that I can spin the story in the sense that Dan Campbell himself was once part of it. Had to sit and watch a team go 0-16, and he got to come back as its coach. And here we are. He's doing something that haven't been done since the 1950s, since before the AFL NFL merger.
And I love that you bring up the linebacker room too, because that's just like a microcosm of this team, right? Like 2 years ago,
bloodbath. Yeah, bloodbath.
We laughed at that comment 2 years ago. It was just, oh yeah, we look at from the outside and said this linebacker group is horrible. There's no one amongst the group. Alex Anzalone is a cast off. Derrik Barnes is an edge rusher turned linebacker. He's not going to do anything. And Kelvin Shepherd stood up there and said, listen, there's going to be competition. We're really happy with that room. It's going to be a bloodbath. Whoever comes out of it is going to be who they are. And we laughed at it. And then they came back this year and they said, hey, I know we drafted Jack Campbell, but Derrik Barnes, he's coming. Yeah, okay, sure, whatever, Shep. Sure, whatever. You're not going to start your first-round draft pick all year. He's not going to be your full-time starter. You drafted this guy in the first round, 20-whateverth overall. Derrik Barnes plays, 60% of the snaps this year and makes the biggest play in franchise history.
And what did they do before that, Jeremy? They doubled down. They said, oh, Alex Anzalone, he's not just a familiar face from New Orleans.
Yeah.
He's a guy we're going to give a big contract to.
Right. And again, laughed at.
And a team captain.
Yep.
They drafted Jack Campbell and told Derrik Barnes, we're not trying to replace you here. This is not an indication of how good or bad you are as a linebacker. We're just going to add more pieces out here. And they didn't give up on Derrik Barnes.
Right. And there are probably people now that are like, oh my God, you spent this first round draft pick on Jack Campbell and he played 40% of the snaps for you? Like, what kind of drafting is that? Well, how about you show some patience? The patience that this team had in a guy like Alex Anzalone, knowing he was going to be a leader, and once he was in his right position, he'd start balling out. The patience they showed with Derrik Barnes, knowing that it was a new position for him and it was going to take time. Give Jack Campbell some time, and let's see where he is next year, maybe even the year after. And it's again like the amount of trust that this regime should be building within its fans for just being a little bit more patient than maybe you wanted to be at the beginning of this. Because I remember, I'm sure all of you remember, in year 1 and year 2 when this team was losing, everyone was like, this is why they should have been more aggressive in free agency. This is why they should have been more aggressive at the trade deadline. They were right the entire time. They were right to take it at the pace they were going. And to be quite honest, being where they are right now in 3 years is that's a speed run for this franchise. And every step of the way, the coaches have been doing it the right way. The general manager has been doing it the right way. And it's culminated in this magical season. And it's unbelievable.
I mean, what the front office has done on top of everything, too, they get as much credit to be here as anyone else, just on how much this has been a home run. We've had our moments. We talked about the first night of the draft, and we've talked a lot about the aggressive moves of Brad Holmes to move up or down, but he's been confident in every piece of talent that this organization has targeted, and they've been in lockstep with what Dan Campbell's wanted to do on the field. And how much of this year is Jahmyr Gibbs out there running like a monster, and Sam LaPorta? We've talked enough about those guys, rookies, nonstop. How much of it is Penei Sewell? How much of it is all these guys, second-year rookies, third year, that they have just trusted all the way through to be the building block? These aren't, like, again, what differentiates them from San Francisco is San Francisco guys, those are all veterans. Those are all a lot older. This is a team that's doing what San Francisco is doing and is just, they're young guys. They are playing like the best of them. They're playing playoff caliber, championship caliber football already.
We've gone this entire time without even uttering Fatu Melifonu's name.
Right.
This is a guy who go back and look at roster bubble predictions.
I think we all had him off the bubble.
I mean, a third-round pick that everybody had casted aside because does he have a position? Can he stay healthy? I mean, is there any his run at the end of the season feels very akin to what James Houston did the previous year. 100%. So it's like, oh, okay, what the hell do the Lions and their coaching staff have up their sleeve at any given turn? Because when we talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, what was the narrative on Jahmyr Gibbs through the first month of the season? Oh, great. He went to Detroit where Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson don't know how to use him. Are they ever going to use this guy? Blah, 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 blah. Arthur Smith got fired.
We could even
the Lions are in the NFC Championship game because they knew when to press the gas on guys. Yep. They know when to push the guys. They know this. Why?
They played.
Goes back to the very beginning of this entire thing. The genesis of this coaching staff is all built on former players. And a lot of people said this feels like a silly thing to do, right?
Yeah. This weird test tube experiment.
You know why it is?
There wasn't that outside criticism when the Lions were going to be the Patriots of the West. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like there was as much of a pushback to when that happened, to when Detroit decided to say, you know what, we're going to find the guys that we want to put in place, and we're going to go from there, right? Like, it felt like it's just, I don't know.
You know what it is? No, you know what it is, Ryan. You know why it is? It's because they're the Detroit Lions. That's what the new meaning of that phrase is.
Oh, dude, I thought you were going to go into a Kraft jerky read, and I was like, that's...
no, that is actually happening right now.
Wait,
now I wanted
before
to
you
land
do
a nice line. I wanted to land a nice line about they're the Detroit Lions.
No, I'll set you up. I'll set you up here. Here we go.
Okay,
because I want to get
live.
I want to get on Iffy talk a little bit just for a second.
Yeah,
here.
but I want to use that. I want to do that because we got a lot of players to talk about.
No.
But
I know, but I will lead you in. Trust.
Okay.
Trust.
Okay. Me. Okay. Round 2.
Because Iffy, I mean, first, let's be clear here. If not for Iffy's rise at the end of the season, the Lions are not still playing football. Like, the NFC North may have been a tight finish without Fatu Melifonwu. They certainly don't win 2 playoff games without Fatu Melifonwu. That is for certain, because the defensive turnaround that they've had in terms of disruptive plays can almost all be traced to Fatu Melifonwu. Fatu Melifonwu and one other thing.
They're the Detroit Lions. They are the Detroit Lions. We can say that without even thinking about like that that means something negative. They're the Detroit Lions. That's why. And it's because of meat too. And the Pride of Detroit podcast is brought to you by that Righteous Felon craft jerky. It's the jerky that fuels your Detroit Lion. No, I wanted to do my rant, and you're setting me up.
You already had it. You said that already. You could have kept that part in.
Righteous Felon jerky and meat sticks are available to Lions players. The training facility is at Allen Park, and we are all fighting internally because we haven't had our meat. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein. Each stick has 8 grams. If it's good enough for the Lions, it's got to be good enough for you too. What am I doing? I gave them a read last night too, and here we are trying to put in more meat. Okay. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced all-natural black Angus beef. Revolutionary branding, superior quality, unique flavors beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. POD 15 at checkout. POD 15 at righteousfelon.com. 15% off your order. Do it now. POD 15, righteousfelon.com. We come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Hey, let's actually talk about some of the players in this game. Let's talk about breaking down the game. And let's also talk about an addition the Lions have made. Someone is jumping on the Detroit Lions roster to chase a ring. I said it. And I won't take it back. We'll be right back. Pride of Detroit, POD cast.
Hi, everybody. We still feeling good? How we feeling?
I'm groovy. I didn't drop any ball.
Oh my God. Chris, the butt fumble of all reads. Ezekiel Elliott lining up at center for his final play with the Dallas Cowboys.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Allow me to work my stuff. I wanted to do my rants. I'll fight you all. Balls drop.
I don't want any of that cut, by the way. I want that entire thing in the podcast.
No. We don't cut anything.
Never.
We never cut our meat.
We are not talking about Eric's sweater. That's a whole different thing.
What?
Go back and watch some of the in-break stuff from the midweek mailbag last week, and I'm sure my buddy Harry has a audio clip of it and on his soundboard, because that's his new thing, is when I say something incriminating, it gets put on a soundboard and played back to me when we're playing Fortnite. It's great. Anyways, let's get to some alerts here before we move on and hang out with our live audience here. First of all, shout out to the 45-person raid from No Decaf's channel. That is Chris's channel, who does occasionally.
I'm the one screwing it up. So...
All right, next alert. MGO Korg, thank you for the 33 months. Subscribe to the channel. It says LFG, which of course we all know means let's fucking go. Jorge, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube. Big Z Dubs, 13 months subscribed here on Twitch. Michael T. Dunn, 35 months subscribed to the channel, says let's go. Captain James Kirk, 100 bits, says Brad Holmes equals GOAT. The last 3 drafts have been, without a doubt, the most impactful in the league. Why isn't Ragnow getting interviewed for GM jobs? It's a good question. I think part of it is that he came from the pro personnel side, and those guys need a little bit more seasoning in terms of, draft stuff, because that is your primary job as an NFL GM. But
right,
he'll get there. I think give him a year or two.
I have some inside information on that, though.
Oh yeah?
Ooh.
Yeah. The Lions just unplugged the phone in Allen Park.
Oh, okay.
Nobody.
I will say we are moving a bit faster on GM stuff. I think Carolina promoted from within, and I think the Chargers are closing in on a woman from the NFL league offices.
Carolina promoted from within because Disner said this is a tire fire. No thanks. So the Panthers said, okay, I guess we'll hire Dan Morgan.
Yeah, and I think the Chargers GM, what's her name? Dawn Aponte. I think I have it. Donna Pont. I don't know how to say her last name, but that's what looks to be who they're interviewing right now. So,
that Lion Boy. Thank you for the 100 bits. Says Chris beefed that ad read.
Bleefed.
Bleefed.
Right?
All natural bleef.
All natural bleef.
All natural bleef.
And we're caught up, which means we can just hang out for a little bit here.
How cool is this? How fucking cool is this? I can't keep I've been saying that to everyone, and I'm sorry, but like, how fucking cool is this?
It's unbelievable, man. It's
I got so many texts. I got so many texts from people I haven't heard in forever. I had a former coworker reach out to me. I had someone I know from Dallas radio reach out to me. I've gotten messages from a college friend who's doing stuff with M Live right now. Like, it's just, everyone wants to be a part of this moment right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is what we all kept saying. Like, this is why we're holding on to this team that has been so bad to us. This is like, because it's going to be that much sweeter when things start going our way, and it's pretty damn sweet right now. Not gonna lie.
Hell yeah. Hell fucking yeah.
And like we've been saying, it seems like this is only the beginning. And that's not to say they can't reach the pinnacle this year. They can.
I mean,
it's just that it doesn't feel like this is a limited window run. It feels like the Lions got all of the important aspects of building a team right, in terms of having an owner that cares enough to stay invested in the team, give the team all the resources it needs, but also stepping back and realizing you hired people to do jobs and you do not need to interfere in those jobs. A GM that basis in college football scouting is second to probably nobody, and has those same leadership qualities where he's willing to delegate and trust the people there to do his job. And that's Dan Campbell to a T, right? Who is just the absolute model of leadership in every possible way you can want, while also being a damn good game manager, while also being a damn good strategist. That's probably strategery. And having an inane ability to recognize talent, not just on the field, but in the coaching ranks. And so if you have those three pieces, what the hell is going to stop this organization from continuing to perform at the level they currently are?
Yeah, and look, like, the Lions are going to lose one, maybe both their coordinators, and I think setbacks do sometimes happen, and there will be some other growing pains, and who knows what happens with the roster when certain contracts come due. Like, you can never guarantee the future, which is why I was telling people all last night, live in this moment right now, because, like, it looks rosy right now. Things can change pretty quickly. Things change pretty quickly for other teams, but I think you're absolutely right in that one of the reasons I'm more confident that this isn't going to be flash in the pan is what you're talking about there. Like, looking at the Cowboys by contrast, a team that everyone praises, but Jerry Jones drafts guys who he just likes for flash, sizzle, play on the field. He doesn't care about their personality. He doesn't care about a team identity. He gets a guy in Mike McCarthy who he just knows can be a yes man to him and really woos and dazzles him. Like, that's cool. You can win games like that. But this one feels more like when you think about the archetype of the Steelers as a winning organization, it's that everyone has a vision together. Lions, more than any other organization right now, feel like there's no real conflict between player to coaching staff, to head coach, to GM, to owner. Like, everyone seems to have this same goal in mind. Maybe that changes over the years. Who knows? But for right now, like, everyone looks great. Everyone's happy. And everyone's working together to the same goal. It is the definition of a collective unit.
And what's phenomenal about all that is, yes, it's easy to be all of that when the team is winning. But this team wasn't always winning with all these same people in place, right? They went through 3-13-1. They went through 1-6 the following year. And they held pat. They said, no, we're not going to pay attention to the results right now because we know the process is right.
Yeah. Yeah. 1-6, and you have the owner coming out and saying something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, where else do you, again, It's accountability. And I feel like it's a buzzword for some people, but that's accountability. Like, it's not just, you can't just say you're accountable, right? Like, your actions have to meet up with what you're preaching. And that is that, right? Like, you don't get that from other ownership that's heading in the right direction, right? Like, you don't get owners that are willing to put out a public statement, even though, like, what it was during the 3-13 season, right? Like, Sheila comes out and gets booed mercilessly when Calvin's being inducted into the Ring of Honor and everything. Like, that it's, I don't know, and I the level of concern I have for when Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn get jobs elsewhere is minimal.
I feel like they've got good contingency plans, Ryan, right? They've had this idea they want to promote from within. They will look to Tanner Engstrand and Kelvin Shepard, whoever else they need to as well. But like they want to make this thing last and keep bringing guys up through the ranks and being something you can sell to former players and say, hey, come here, come coach with us, be part of this.
Yeah. And you know what? Internally, if those guys deserve it, and if Dan Campbell thinks those guys are ready, then they'll get an opportunity. But I have just as much faith for Dan Campbell to go out and get coaches to come to Detroit and to do a good job, because he's not going to hire a name. Right. Like, yeah. And I think the other thing, even the Lions, put out that picture of Dan and Brad and talk about lock in step, right? It's the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
It's the comments about the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, there are a lot of names out there, but like, they weren't the right fit. Right? Like, Chase Young is a really nice name.
Yeah.
And who knows how we'll feel about Chase Young in a few days from now.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I have faith that Brad and Dan, like, they have enough connections and they have enough proof in the pudding. They have enough proof in the pudding that they can go and get guys to come here. And
they got Zack Ertz to come here.
I mean, look at this past offseason, right? Like, how devastated were we all that Deuce Staley and Todd Wash left?
Oh, especially because it was Deuce Staley, assistant head coach Deuce Staley, right? Like, it's like, oh man, that guy's a leader. You see him on Hard Knocks. He's the one who's throwing in his 2 cents about, keeping players and not keeping players. And, Deuce Staley is the reason why the Lions have gotten the most out of DeAndre Swift.
Right.
And Jamal Williams has a career season. And, oh no, like, we're losing Deuce Staley.
They get a heck of a coach in his replacement in Montgomery, who, by the way, just might be the interim, or not interim, the offensive coordinator. Like, he could very well be this team's offensive
Scotty
coordinator.
Montgomery is absolutely up there with Engstrom too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, he just went out and got him. He just went out and got, Steve Hyden, a very, very well-respected tight ends coach. Come on over.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it too, because I do talk to some of the guys I do work with. Like, the guys who are former players, they notice this too. Like, it's why I keep bringing it up. And like, that is a huge strength for Dan Campbell moving forward, Ryan, in restocking all of this, is that the guys in the professional ranks see what they're doing and respect the hell out of it.
Yeah.
It's a pipeline here.
And I think another thing, right, is where did Ben Johnson come from?
Previous regime.
The previous regime that everybody else left.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Campbell said, no, this guy's staying.
And Hank.
Right. But like, Ben is staying,
mm-hmm.
right? And he's not immediately becoming the offensive coordinator.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? Back and being a TE coach.
He's there where he is. And then it's a progression. And it's, Jeremy, I mean, how nervous were we when Dan Campbell said, Anthony Lynn, it's not working? Like, so early on in season 1, it's like, ooh, that seems a little bit risky to be pulling, the ripcord on a hire of not just some Joe Schmo. This is a guy who is a head football coach and was hired to be a head football coach because of his his offensive background.
Yeah. And a certain writer in California, never forget, who does Dan Campbell think he is? Does he really think he knows football better than
More than Anthony
Lynn?
Lynn? Yeah, right? Like, man, do you think that he got that right or what?
Well, guess who's on the other side of the ball here for on Sunday too? Assistant head coach and running back coach of the 49ers, Anthony Lynn.
That's true.
Yeah, he's made all the difference for Christian McCaffrey.
And let's be honest though. Like Anthony Lynn's a good football coach.
Oh, he is. He 100%.
And he took that
Like
in stride.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Super professional about it.
He could have caused a stink, and I think he would have been well within his right to cause a stink because, again, it felt like such a knee-jerk reaction so early in the season. It was the right call.
Yeah.
It's that word again, accountability. He was big. He took accountability.
Sometimes a marriage doesn't work. You can have two very talented, very smart people working together, and it just doesn't work. They might see things differently. They might not just have the same overall philosophy. And because Dan Campbell is a guy that doesn't have a ton of ego, and Anthony Lynn is too, they wrote out the rest of the season. They said, hey, thank you for the opportunity. It's just not working. Parted ways, and they're both in a better place for it. That's how good organizations are run. There doesn't need to be the unnecessary drama. There doesn't need to be a sitting on our hands say, well, I like this guy. He's smart. It's not working, but I respect him. So we're just going to make it work. We're going to try to make it work. We're going to force it to work. No, that might be one of Dan Campbell's many superpowers, is recognizing when something isn't working and not letting it simmer and not letting it fester and just being like, you know what, this isn't working. We need to change.
The guy's on fire when it comes to making the right decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like we just talked about the Ben Johnson and the Anthony Lynn stuff. Guys, there were people this year who were like, why is Aaron Glenn still getting all of these chances? And he was arguably one of the most important aspects in Detroit getting to the NFC Championship game. Like the game that he called yesterday was nearly impeccable. The only thing he got caught on was a screen pass.
Blitz one too many times.
Yeah.
And even then, though, like the Lions had a shot to get to Baker, right? Yeah. And
they should. Well, they did, but
right. But I don't know. I think that's another aspect of Dan Campbell that, from the outside, it seems head scratching, right? Like James Houston, he's ready. Like he's practicing. This is the guy who, hold on, like the Lions defense needs more help. They need more horses. They need a pass rusher opposite of Aiden Hutchinson to cause some disruption and to help out. Why isn't James Houston playing?
Well, it's funny you say that too, because Zack Ertz, like a lot of people were wondering why they didn't try doing the Zack Ertz was out there. Yeah. And I saw some people today being like, why didn't they do this earlier with Zack Ertz?
There's a time and a place for everything with Dan Campbell. And the James Houston thing is the thing that I like about that. And I mean, you could look at other players, right? Broderick Martin, Afatu Melifonwu, Derrik Barnes, like all these guys that are getting brought along on the track that they're being brought along on does not jive with the coach that they see on the sidelines, right? They see Dan Campbell as the most aggressive guy on fourth down and pushing the envelope and being uber aggressive. But again, he knows when to put the foot on the pedal and when to back off. And James Houston is a perfect example of, look, I defer and I just trust Dan Campbell. And again, this goes along with this feeling, this surreal feeling of the Lions being in the NFC Championship game. It's like I haven't been in a position in my lifetime where I have felt comfortable just saying, I defer to that guy because it seems like he knows what the hell he's doing.
This is why I think we had this argument over the 2-point conversion from 7 yards out. Maybe it was ill-advised, but I still feel comfortable about it. Because it's Dan Campbell.
One of those teams is still playing football. The other one's not.
but no, you're right. Like, I don't know if there's someone I'm more. We talked about it after the Rams game. The decision to take the holding call, not just the fourth and goal. The decision to go for it. Sure, fine. He's done that a lot. To take a holding call and with your defense be like, I want to see Matt Stafford do it one more time. We're ready.
He did it again on Sunday.
Yeah.
They could have had 4th and inches, and then they backed it up to 3rd and 14, and then the Bucks basically got all the way back to 4th and inches, and they ended up punting.
I forgot about that.
They ended up punting the ball anyways, but I was like, Dan, I don't know about this. They're on their own side of the field. It's Todd Bowles. He doesn't feel like he's a very aggressive guy. Like,
I mean, the man.
He certainly isn't aggressive in his timeout usage.
If I have been saying, like, I almost feel upset for Bucks fans today, because, like, if the roles were reversed and Dan Campbell, you said to Dan Campbell, hey, you've got a timeout left. You could force the other team to take a field goal. If they miss it, you'll have like 24 seconds to go, I don't know,
36
80 yards down.
By the way, 36 is when he could have called a timeout after the third kneel down.
36. So he would have had like almost 30 seconds if they miss.
Yeah.
And Badgley's not automatic.
At the 48-yard line, by the way, or the 38-yard line.
And like, I heard him in the post game afterwards, and he basically threw in the towel. He said the game's basically over. We would have had an infinitesimal chance. like, no, never give up. There's not another week here.
Yeah,
I felt mad for Bucks fans on that.
That was the end. Like, I was too busy in the moment to recognize what was happening at all. I'm sure almost everybody was on Detroit's side. But I went back and watched that whole ordeal about 2 hours ago after Dan Campbell talked about it a little bit. It was malpractice on both sides. The Lions took their first kneel down happened whenever, it doesn't matter. The second kneel down, I think, happened with 14 seconds still on the game clock or the play clock. The next one came with like 16 seconds on the. They had an extra 30 seconds that they could have taken off the clock. And listen, they got the ball with a minute. I'm going to do a little math here. So if you're not a math guy, I'm sorry. Minute 33 left is when they get the ball back after the Barnes interception. Bucks have one timeout. 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds. That's the play clock each time you run a knee. Assume that they call a timeout on one of those. That is 40. You get 2 free plays, 40 seconds each. Run off the clock. That's a minute 20. So you have 13 other seconds that you need to burn, which you can do by just running 4-second plays. Running the ball 3 times takes up 4 seconds. Even if the Bucks use their timeouts, you can run the entire clock, essentially. The Lions took knees, which means each play took essentially 1 second. They for whatever reason, don't run the play clock down. Save an extra 30 seconds. So that's why you are taking that knee and giving the Bucks 36 seconds. 36 seconds when you could have ran it down to 0.
And look,
the Bucks said, no thanks. Congratulations on the win. Are you fucking kidding me?
I am sure the Bucks didn't have a plan in place because they didn't expect the Lions to butcher the clock like that, and maybe that's Todd Bowles' way of thinking. But I'm sorry, to quote the great philosopher Mike Singletary, I want winners. I want people who want to win. If I'm on the other side of that and the team is screwing up kneel downs, hell yeah, there's no tomorrow. Forget about, like, sportsmanship's cool. You know what's cooler? Winning, trying to win. If that was the Lions and Dan Campbell wasn't being like, hold up, they're screwing up the kneel downs, timeout, force them to take the field goal. And if they miss it, if they hit it, oh well. If they miss it, then goddamn, you're right back in this game. Like, one more Hail Mary.
Yeah, you at the very worst, you have a shot at a Hail Mary in Ford Field, and for the love of God, let's not let that happen again.
We don't need to talk about that.
But I guess here's the thing that to me is most mind-blowing. Today, Dan Campbell said, we messed up. That's unacceptable. I'm sorry. Like, we can't let that happen again. It was our bad. Todd Bowles is just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's fine. You know. We weren't going to delay things. We weren't going to drag things out.
We want to delay the inevitable.
I'm sorry. It's a do or die situation. You drag every single, like, to not have that competitive spirit in your head coach is a little worrisome to me. Saying like, if there is a 0.1% chance for me to win this football game by calling a timeout and hoping we block a field goal and return it for a touchdown, if that's their only shot at winning a football game, I want my head coach to be like, we're taking it. We're going to send the house. We're going to try to block a field goal and return it for a touchdown. I don't care if that has a 0.001% chance of working, because that is better than just folding in the towel.
Ryan, we've seen it all throughout the history of the NFL, right? Those 0.001% chance plays. Music City Miracle, Philadelphia, the Miracles in the Meadowlands. Like, these things still happen.
Yeah. Let me just offer this. Todd Bowles may eventually find himself unemployed.
Great defensive coach, though.
Looking for a defensive job. I'm just saying, you take care of the people who might be feeding you someday. So it felt like a measure
this
of
is a long con.
This is making sure you honor the 2-week notice to make sure that you can get a job.
Tinfoil hats in the chat.
Tinfoil hat. Tinfoil Ryan, man.
I'm just saying that Todd Bowles seems like he has Dan Campbell's respect.
I mean,
did he want to be disrespectful on a 0.1% chance? Maybe not.
That of all the disrespectful things you can do at the end of a game, calling a timeout that you have, pretty low on the list. Now, I think even Dan Campbell would be like, "You got balls." It would have been weird if they did it like half the team is already out on the field and Dan Campbell's like got his arm raised and he's like,
yeah,
and like Bowles puts his hand out, pulls it out, who goes, boom. I'd respect the hell out of the man for that.
Heel stuff, man. Do what you got to do to win.
I don't know. Looking back on it today, that is one of the most bizarre things to end a game.
No, I'll take it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just connecting the dots, guys. He played 117 games. He's a former player.
I mean, when you see a rising franchise like that, you put in a good word for yourself in any way possible, I guess.
Aaron Glenn's taking
the divisional round.
If Aaron Glenn's taking the Falcons job, here's my card. especially if they can't keep Baker Mayfield, he's going to probably really want to keep that Rolodex handy.
I'm interested to see what kind of contract he fetches this offseason.
Well, like, he's perfect for Tampa Bay, but again, I could really see him with a team like Pittsburgh too. Like, I do feel good for Baker in that it does feel like even after taking the loss in that game and getting sacked and 2 interceptions, like, people understand Baker still has some staying power in the NFL.
Yeah. He also got clowned on the whole game.
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Amon-Ra the touchdown dance.
The touchdown dance. Like, also, I love the balls on CJ to be like, oh yeah, I don't watch film. You had an interception on a tip pass. Like,
no, dude,
I don't know.
He saw that play, dude.
I am sure we don't have CJ Gardner-Johnson mic'd up, but I have it on good authority that when he flipped the ball to Baker Mayfield, he said, "Where's Russ? Where's Russell Gage?"
By the way, so I was listening to the Dungeon of Doom podcast, MLive's podcast, and I obviously wasn't in Allen Park all last week because of COVID, but Mikey was saying, like, CJ was hurt by those comments from Mayfield. Like, he couldn't repeat anything that CJGJ said because it was apparently off the record, but he was just like, just know, like, he was legitimately pissed off, like super pissed off. He took it. Listen, I don't think like Mayfield was just being like quirky, right? He was just being like, got you back. You must not watch tape. Gage isn't out there. Like, I don't think he was legitimately like, oh, that kid must not watch tape. Like, he's an idiot. I think he was just trying to be silly and funny and edgy or whatever. But
that's who Baker is. That's how he acts. Like, it's just
right. And like CJ Gardner-Johnson is like,
the Joker.
He takes that shit serious. Like,
yeah.
Personally. And so, you know, I'm not saying that CJ Gardner-Johnson doesn't get that interception without that Baker Mayfield comment. That, like you said, that'd be kind of ridiculous to jump over that because it was a little bit lucky. Or I wouldn't, maybe not lucky, but
opportunistic.
It was opportunistic because
it wasn't Derrik Barnes interception, right?
Right. The real culprit of that play was the pressure that was bearing down on Baker Mayfield that caused a quick, inaccurate throw that then led to the tip pass that then led to the interception. But like this is why, you know, Eric tweeted the thing that he did, which is like, you don't want to get into a trash talking match, even if you're not being serious, even if you're being silly. CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to fucking use that, man.
Yeah, like, it didn't feel like a fight that Baker Mayfield wanted to get in because what more motivation does Baker Mayfield need?
Right.
Right? Like, that guy has plenty of motivation. So why would you get in a pissing match with a guy who basically missed the entire season, is playing on a 1-year deal? You know, he's trying to put tape out there, so, you know, unironically, but like he's trying to put tape out there himself of I still got it. I can still do it. And I don't know why you'd want to. I don't know. I feel like Baker Mayfield should have known better. But
it's also hard when you're asked about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could also
that whole mood
clear.
Whole mood out of Tampa was
Baker's
kind of
never
snarky. This whole attitude out of Tampa this week was snarky too. It kind of felt like starting when the reporter last week asked Todd Bowles, how are you going to handle the elements in Detroit?
Good for Todd Bowles too. He handled that like
very well.
Professional. Again, putting more tape out there for Dan Campbell to know that he's a respectful guy.
Oh man.
That is true. There's that lingering Debo Samuel CJGJ trash talk from, how did that all originate? And it was after CJ Gardner-Johnson got injured. What I don't remember who started what. I think CJGJ just like randomly said like Debo's a running back. And then Debo responded on Instagram, and then it just like, it was a week of spiraling out of control.
Dude, like even just like the way that you frame that and contextualized it, it's like, okay, CJ called Debo a running back, and that just started things. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the same thing that like, I don't know how any like silly like high school fight would start.
Right.
Like, oh, you said that about me? You think that's who I am? It's like, okay.
And like the media does its part in like, yo, did you hear what he said about you? Because
no, we want these stories.
It's funny because like, first of all, the original CJ Gardner-Johnson Baker Mayfield thing happened a week ago. It happened during Rams week. It wasn't like CJGJ was going to the meeting and be like, yo, Baker Mayfield sucks. He was just like, the Rams receivers are really good, probably as good as the Buccaneers receivers. Like if the Bucs had a better quarterback, those receivers would be popping off. And then of course, like the following week when it's Lions Bucs, Bucs reporter's like, yo, you hear what CJGJ been saying about you, bro? And now, like I've already seen the Debo stuff. Like that stuff is 3 months old, and I'm already seeing that resurface. And I wouldn't be surprised if CJGJ is asked about it, or if Debo is asked about it. Like,
if you're in Debo's spot, though, you have to take the high road, and especially if you're 50-50 on playing, why would you want to put any bulletin board material out there for your team, right? Because that seems like you're putting yourself before your team. And I don't know if you brought it up, but I'm looking at it, and it's from week 6 of this year.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
when the Browns beat the 49ers. But CJ had that tweet that said, "You see Debo run, typical wide receiver behavior, then act hard when Trent Williams tries to save him."
That's right.
And then Debo responded with a quote tweet saying, "Boy, stop playing before you get a rewind of this. Boy, sit down." And it was the Bears receiver who like just turned CJ Gardner-Johnson around and slapped him in the face with his helmet on.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Poking the bear. Yep.
And then that's when CJ got on Instagram Live and says, "You better hope that all that talk you be doing when we see you all, whatever playoff round it may be, because I can guard you. You can't run routes. You're a running back. You're a running back. I ain't gonna sit here and play with you, little boy. Just because you got a little bag, people give you a little clout. You ain't nothing, bro."
And then didn't Debo start calling him like, "You must be bored, not even playing, blah 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 blah."
Yeah, he was on with Kay Adams on her
that's
show.
Right. Yeah.
He just sounded like he's mad I got a little bag and a lot of money and no one knows who he is.
Oh boy. If those two interact on the field, man, something might happen.
And I was almost more nervous. I don't know why, but I was more nervous to watch that Packers 49ers game than I was to watch the Lions Bucks game for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I get it. I was somebody who was I kind of felt like Sunday, and I didn't want to say anything, but I felt like Sunday was kind of hemmed up. I was like, I don't see Detroit losing. But that's why I felt I was not outwardly like that though. A bunch. There were a couple times where I was like, I just think they'll take care of business, but I didn't want to partake in everybody who was that night watching 49ers and Packers. I felt more nervous and I didn't want to partake in any of the, "Ooh, I'd rather this happen or I'd rather that happen." It's nope. I was inside and outside of the house. I went outside and built a fire. And I was just I just wanted to be by the fire, and I just wanted to
That game was painful. That game was painful.
I needed to do something with all my anxiety. So that's why I was I'll just go outside and I'll just build a fire, and I'd come back in and check on the game every once in a while. And I want to go back and watch that game because I think a lot of the stuff that was born out of that game was this 49ers offense looks a lot different when Debo's not out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think also Brock Purdy is the perfect ink blot test to see how you look at football. Because if you thought that last drive, I've heard people say that. I heard people on radio and on Twitter say with a straight face that last drive made Brock Purdy look like Joe Montana. And I don't know what kind of football they're watching. I don't know what drugs they're on to watch that game. I really don't. I really don't know how you can look at that drive, which he had a couple of good throws, and there was some big luck that broke the way, and Christian McCaffrey burst up the middle like an alien chest burster to get the touchdown from 20 yards out. And you're saying Brock Purdy looks like Joe Montana.
I mean, that feels like self-fulfilling prophecies from people who were talking about how Purdy was the MVP in November, right?
They're trying to make it fetch happen.
But I think in that game too, there were so many national people that were like, "Why aren't the 49ers running the football more? Why aren't it's clear that the elements," and I mean, I don't want to discredit any of that because that certainly played a huge factor in looked like Purdy's effectiveness in throwing the football, and weather permitting, and if all things go according to plan, it doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue on Sunday. Jeremy, I think I saw the weather was 68 and sunny or something like that.
I'd say about 1 degree hotter.
Nice. Underrated aspect of this game, though. Jared Goff going home. He mentioned post game when he was talking to NBC.
He's already home.
Friends and family.
Nah.
Friends and family coming out to the game.
Nah. Don't matter.
No, I'm saying it does matter in the sense that it gives him motivation to ball out.
You have to go back and watch that 49ers game. I need to sit down at some point and watch, because I was live for the entire time. I didn't see a single down of Chiefs Bills.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, this is
no interest.
This what? I mean, this is kind of the, if there is a negative part of the Lions being in the playoffs, it's that I'm not getting to enjoy the playoffs like I normally do. Yeah. I'm enjoying it on a completely different level, obviously.
Wait, hold on. Yeah.
It's just a completely different way, but like NFL playoffs are my favorite playoffs. Like NHL is very, very close. I understand. I know. I love myself some overtime hockey. But
when the Tigers were in the playoffs, my heart could not take baseball playoffs.
Baseball players super overrated. But
my overall, remember any of those Tigers teams,
my overall point though is like it's the one time a year that I just get to sit and watch football. Like I don't need to worry about covering the game. I don't need to worry about Lions things going on. I can just sit and watch playoff football, and it's usually one of the highlights of my year.
Yeah.
This is different, and it's I mean, I will take this every single year. I feel like I'm being worked to the bone. I feel like I'm working overtime, and it's all crazy and ridiculous. But I do miss the aspect of being able to like sit and watch Bills Chiefs, because I kept like looking up at the screens at Ford Field while I'm writing or recording or whatever, and I'm just like, fuck, I kind of want to be watching this game right now. This looks crazy.
I was live on the stream, and I just suddenly saw like a giant wall of people in all caps putting in wide right. And I just thought, oh no.
Yeah.
I don't know the context, but oh no. I know enough about Buffalo that wide right. Oh no.
I was watching, and don't tell the cops this. I was watching the game on my drive home, and it was the very end of the game. But I'm watching on NFL Plus, and I'm behind, and I'm like, I think it's third down, and Josh Allen misses a throw or whatever, and right in the middle, I get a notification from Pelissero goes, wide right, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not even at the field goal yet. What's happening? And I'm like, oh no, the Bills, no.
Not like this. There was a little part of me that wanted to see Bills Lions for the Super Bowl. Really wanted to see that.
I don't care who the other team is. If I get a Lions Super Bowl,
I really don't.
Happy.
But still, like,
I want no part of a running quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Well,
you're not really going to have much of a choice at this point.
Get ready to learn running quarterback, buddy.
I've already seen them beat one of them. So
true, they beat one of them. Did not come
with
very
an
close
asterisk
to beating the other.
Segment 2.
Yeah, I think we should. Let me thank a couple people, and then
there's
we'll
also Call of the Game coming out soon, so I kind of want to get a segment in before those come out.
Yeah,
I know Ryan also has a hard out here in like
45 minutes.
40 minutes, yeah.
All right, really quick before we head into segment 2, TMCT, thank you for the 11-month subscribe to the channel. JF Trip, thank you for the 11-month subscribed on Twitch. Damien over on YouTube super chatted £2, says, is Tracy Walker long for the roster? Probably not. I mean, he's due a very big paycheck next year, and he's obviously not even active on game days right now. But Dan Campbell, if you didn't see his press conference today, said some nice things about him and Charles Harris and their professionalism for being vocal leaders of this team for the past 2 years and dealing with being benched, healthy scratches for this playoff run, which can't be easy in terms of your psyche. And Dan Campbell said it too, like, you don't have to like it. These guys probably don't like it, but they're being super professionals about it. They're helping the team during the week of practice, and they deserve part of the celebration of where this team is, even if they're not out there on Sundays. So there's something to be said about players like that, even if they're not going to be around next year.
Absolutely.
And then Joshua Mercer, 100 bits. Thank you, Joshua. Okay. I think we're good. I will refund your channel points for the mozzarella sticks. Matt Burns. Sorry, I didn't see it until now. But
I don't know.
We're not going to have a long break after this, so to get your full money's worth, I'll refund you. All right, here we go. I'm good.
Pride of Detroit POD cast. We're going to get into San Francisco eventually here a little bit. We will have a first bite, obviously, to deal with the 49ers. Before we move on, though, again, we talked a lot of emotions. We talked a lot about how we got here. And near the end, we talked a little bit about the players who brought us here in Ifeatu Melifonwu. But I think it's time we dip into the rest of the player performances in this game because there's so much really to talk about through all of this. I don't even know where we want to start, Jeremy. We could talk about Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker. I know PFF both gave them tremendous grades, and Frank Ragnow played like an Iron Man out there. We could talk about, again, going back to Pro Football Focus, the Jalen Reeves-Maybin 90 grade defensively and how well he performed out there, the linebackers in general. Aiden Hutchinson has been a lightning bolt in these playoffs. We could talk about Jared Goff. Where do you go first in all of this now that we've taken Iffy off the board?
I mean, I think I want to pass the mic to Ryan, who is repping one of the guys that we have to talk about for as long as possible, because if for those that are just listening at home, he's got a whiteboard behind him that says All Pro Frank Ragnow, and I think we need to give this man as many flowers as possible. So Ryan, let's talk about it.
All Pro Frank Ragnow, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, and should be soon to be winner Frank Ragnow. To quote the venerable Dan Campbell, Frank's a stud. And I think in the aftermath of this game and seeing what he went through, the way that and Jeremy, I know you're up in the box and everything, but the broadcast showing Frank on the sideline just wincing in pain, and the thought of losing both him and Jonah in this game, the whole game changes. The complexity of this game changes. Jonah goes down. If Frank has to leave that game too, Graham sliding over to center, and Colby's moving in at right guard, and I'm having flashbacks to Thanksgiving versus the Bills, right? It's a completely different game when the Buccaneers are built to make pressure happen along the interior.
Every snap with Vita Vea and Kalijah Cancianu, it's a war. It was a war for Frank that entire day.
And Frank, sprained knee, sprained ankle, doesn't matter. As Nick Baumgartner, said on Twitter, the guy's made of rubber. It seems like he's incredible, man. And he's one of the old guard, right? I think that is another piece of all this is he's a guy who's been here for quite some time. And now he's just finally reaping, the benefits of staying here and staying committed to this thing. And he's so important to everything they do up front, from calling protections to, absolutely. I mean, the gall to call a Craig Reynolds 4th and 1 run behind an injured Frank Ragnow who has to take on Vita Vea that's something that goes in Lions lore. That's something that will stand the test of time and should be one of the moments that everybody remembers from the season. And Frank is, no pun intended, but front and center in everything this offense can do, Jeremy.
And did you think we'd get to a point where Frank Ragnow playing with a broken throat was his second most impressive physical feat? I can tell you,
dude,
it's become a meme. Frank Ragnow on the injury report, knee back toe rest, knee back toe rest, knee back toe rest. Every single freaking week, it's the same thing over and over again. And to that, he adds, in the middle of this game, another sprained knee, another sprained ankle to go on top of the knee back toe rest. Like, it's just, it's absolutely insane what he's doing physically. And on top of that, he's the best center in the freaking league. On top of that, he is a freak when it comes to studying this game. This is something that Dan Campbell talked about today because he was asked about, outside of just like the physicalness of him, talk about how important he is. Remember last week leading up to the game, Ben Johnson was like, he's our secret weapon against one of the most complicated and unpredictable blitzing defenses in the league. He is our dude because he goes back to week 2 tape and makes sure he knows every single look they could be throwing at them so that they have a counter punch, so that before the ball's even snapped, the Lions have already won. Because in this game, they blitzed 50% of the time and produced, what, five pressures out of those blitzes? That's because of Frank Ragnow. That's and you know, there's a fair amount of credit that goes to Jared Goff as well, because that's part of his game that he's expanded upon. But Frank Ragnow is so damn important to what this team does in terms of their protection, in terms of their physicalness up front, in terms of their overall identity, that the fact that he can also be one of the most courageous and tough and physical players on this team is just, I mean, there's no one on this team you should be more proud of. I would love to go to a game and see 60,000 77 jerseys in the stands because he's earned it.
Yeah, that's one of the unique. Real quick, I think that's one of the things that I don't know if I'm just living in a bubble or if that's a unique thing, but like, it's not weird to see a 77 jersey. It's not weird to see a 58 jersey. You know what I mean? Like, these are offensive linemen. Like, is that happening in other cities, in other fan bases around the league where we're celebrating our offensive linemen the way that we do and appreciating them for what they do? And Chris, the post-game comments from Frank where, you know, talking about gutting it out and doing that because he's like, this team rewarded me with an extension and I want to honor that extension by playing 73 of 73 snaps.
He's in that Jason Kelce, that Joe Thomas stratosphere of like, this guy represents this offensive lineman represents your team. Everything that is good and honest and great about your team. I mean, Lions have 3 of them in my mind. Sewell and Decker are that, but Ragnow is quintessentially the guy you look towards in all those things. And I think you're right. I've been sitting here talking about what jersey I'm going to get when they do redesign the jerseys, if they redesign the jerseys here eventually. And I know I need to get a St. Brown one, but I might have to also grab a Ragnow one because that is a jersey I feel like you will always be able to wear to a Lions game. Like, you know, I was having this conversation with a friend who was like a Seahawks fan. He didn't want to get a Bobby Wagner jersey, but I'm like, Bobby Wagner is always going to be a jersey you can wear. Joe Thomas is always going to be a jersey you can wear for the Browns. Frank Ragnow, I think we can say right now, Ryan, will always be a jersey you can wear for the Detroit Lions. People know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm really glad that he has taken the mantle from Dominic Raiola as the
could be more different person.
That is father of like one of the best quarterback prospects in the country, Dominic Raiola. We talked coming into this game about how good the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense was, Jeremy. Much like the Lions, they love to stop the run. That's they don't want you running on them. They want to make you one-dimensional. That's how they beat you. Jahmyr Gibbs, every time he touched the ball in this game, he averaged over 8 yards. 9 carries, 74 yards, 4 receptions, 40 yards. We've run out of things to say about him. He's come a long, long way in 1 year. He's trucking guys with the ball tucked against his hip, staring into a camera as he goes into the end zone. I could not think of one more electric moment from that game besides a 31-yard rushing touchdown. Like we talked about it when he was drafted. You want to talk about the all-purpose weapon. Here he is. And I've run out of adjectives to describe him. I really have.
It was the pinnacle of his season. It was that impressive of a performance, not just because of the 31-yard run, but the 40 yards he added in the receiving game. Over 100 all-purpose yards. And you're right. Like, this was a team that you weren't supposed to be able to do that against. This was a defense that the Lions admitted they had to pass the ball to open up the running game, not vice versa as it normally works. And Gibbs was everything the Lions build him to be. He was that multi-purpose weapon that Brad Holmes begged people to see beyond just the guy who can run between the tackles. And he almost, he didn't get quite there, but he almost got me to a point where I'm saying, all right, I'm finally on board with this draft pick in the first round. He didn't quite get there. Maybe if he would have added a second touchdown, maybe. Because in all honesty, drafting a running back is the reason against that is a long-term proposition. And so just because he has a good year one doesn't mean all those people were necessarily wrong. But
come on. But it's I can understand where you're coming from on the principle of it. You're also very pig-headed about this and won't let us go. Of course. Just like you won't let go flea flicking and punting.
Yeah, absolutely.
The wettest of blankets.
But
Jahmyr Gibbs took Antoine Winfield's soul. That is an all-pro safety.
I think we had a guy call into the radio show and said that, like, one of the Gibbs plays Gibbs made reminded him of Barry Sanders in 1990. No, he was, he was very clear to say it wasn't the caliber of player Sanders was, but like still to do that. Yeah. To do these things that Gibbs does. And my main point is that I will still listen to you about the running back thing, but when you have the chance to take a Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12, you do it.
The thing that I thought that was interesting about this game, though, like Jeremy just said, Lions feeling like they needed to pass the ball in order to open up the run. This just felt like maybe the first game all season long where I, as a viewer, was saying less David Montgomery and more Jahmyr Gibbs. This was the first game where I felt like the tables had been turned, and whether or not that was because, and no shade or no indictment on the game that David Montgomery had. In terms of efficiency, didn't look incredible. I think it was like 3 something yards a carry. But it just felt like, and it continues to feel like, it really feels like the Chargers game. Like the Chargers game felt like the game where, okay, like this guy is just so electric that you put the ball in his hands. And I mean, Jeremy, how many opportunities, even in Sunday's game, did it feel like if Gibbs could just get to the corner?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were a couple plays that Jahmyr,
too,
I mean, it was almost a house call.
Yeah.
Right? So it just felt like there were those plays that happened earlier on where it was like, damn it, more Jahmyr, less David.
He's so close.
He's so close. And it felt calculated. It felt like a measure of Ben Johnson and the offense saying, we know how we can take advantage of this aggressive Bucks D that, they can stop the run between the tackles, but we have a guy who can get outside of them and can go the distance. So I thought, again, just like a masterclass from Gibbs, and John Ledyard told you all about it on First Bite.
True.
Yeah. And Dan Campbell, he says it takes a village. And like you look at some of the run blocking grades for some of the guys coming out of this, and you see the run blocking thrown to support a guy like Gibbs. Like when the Lions run the ball for Gibbs, everyone's in lockstep to make. It's like we need to put ourselves out there. We need to make some blocks because we know Jahmyr Gibbs can make a play happen.
Gibbs. I don't know if you saw this from Next Gen Stats. Gibbs posted an 88.9 success rate on his 9 rushes, which for the math impaired, that's 8 out of his 9 rushes were quote unquote successful, which has a big long definition, but just the long and short of it is every play gained at least what it should have, what the Lions were intending on it gaining. And so just an outstanding night from him. It was I tease about the draft stuff. It was a joy to watch him last night.
You have anyone else? Let's see. We've done Frank Ragnow for Ryan, Jahmyr Gibbs for myself.
I mean, can we talk about Derrik Barnes?
Go ahead.
Can we give the man his flowers and point out that was quite possibly one of the best drop back into coverage, zone coverage reads I've seen from a Lions linebacker ever in the biggest moment ever. It was it was teach tape. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy in the locker room. It couldn't happen to a guy that, as we mentioned in the first segment, we had buried the guy. We had laughed at the idea that he was going to outplay and make the lineup over a first round draft pick. A guy who
a few weeks ago against Dallas, he has the infamous non-sack play that turns into a 90-plus yard touchdown. The man has a child for the first time 2 weeks ago. I just, like, that is what got me the most emotional after this game, is just thinking about what that moment meant for him. And seeing how proud a guy like Alex Anzalone was after a game, watching him in the post-game press conference or post-game locker room celebration, as he pointed out, giving it up to his room that had meant so much to him all season. It was just, it was a perfect play. It couldn't have happened to a better person, and now he's immortalized in Detroit Lions history as having one of the biggest plays in franchise history. And this was a guy, I know a couple of weeks ago, Jeremy, we were talking about what kind of shuffling the Lions could do at linebacker, right? Like, it seemed like Jack Campbell had been playing pretty well. One of these guys is going to be, left on the cutting room floor when it comes to snaps. And, Derrik Barnes has really been a revelation in run defense, but that's been the question, right? Is like the coverage aspect of it. As a guy who, at Purdue had his hand in the dirt and was an edge rusher. And there were layers to the learning process and the maturation process with him. And it goes back to the coaching staff. It goes back to Shep. It goes back to, like he said, the guys who believed in him, in that room. And, to see him make a play in a phase where all of us had question marks about Derrik Barnes, it was special, man. Again, like, there's the moment with Frank moving Vita Vea out of the way to clear room for Craig Reynolds. There's Derrik Barnes making that interception. Like, these are moments that, you know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah, there's Iffy against the Vikings to send them to the first NFC North crown. Amon-Ra catching the first down that puts Matthew Stafford in a grave. Like, yeah, there's a lot of these moments.
These are moments, like big time moments. And it's not just Amon-Ra St. Brown catching a touchdown pass against the Vikings to give the Lions their first victory of the Dan Campbell era, right? They're not just like forlorn, like, oh yeah, like, it's cute, like, that's cool, but like, these are big time moments. Like, your big boy pants are on, and you're making moments. You're making memories and moments where it's critical.
And it's a continuation too, like, because it's not just out of a blue somewhere. It's every week. St. Brown had another touchdown on against the Bucs. Like, these are your key contributors. This isn't just like a guy who's just here for a cup of coffee. This is someone who's like so integral to the identity of your team. And like, St. Brown himself still going out there after the game, still blue hair and all, talking with Scott Van Pelt, and just all that's coming out of his mouth is about this team and how hard everyone's worked to get here to do all of this. Like, that's what I mean. Once again, it takes a village.
There's a million things I want to talk about with this game. We should probably give more flowers to Jared Goff for the amazing second half that he had. Aiden Hutchinson continues to be a monster. The blitzing in the second half. But while we're on Amon-Ra St. Brown right now, like, I have to bring up one of the biggest plays of the game that I feel like we've all forgotten about. The 3rd and 14, where he caught the comeback route and was still 2 yards short, turned it upfield somehow between two defenders, and wrestled those 2 yards away from the Bucs defense to continue the drive alive. And I believe that turned into the Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown 2 or 3 plays later that pushed it to a 14-point lead, the game-winning score.
Yeah, Kyle Brandt talks about angry runs. Those are angry catches that St. Brown makes. I have never seen a wide receiver fight harder for a few more yards because he knows he needs to get a first down. Like, the man just does not let anyone stop him easy.
Yeah. Well, that's clearly a mentality thing, because where we were in week 18 with Sam LaPorta's knee to where we all are 2 weeks later, where the guy has 11 targets and 9 catches for 65 yards. And Ben Johnson, if you call a play where Sam LaPorta is catching the ball almost stationary and he has guys diving at his legs, how defensive backs are taught to tackle, I'm worried. I'm concerned. Like, but again, not fazed by it by any means. And like, just tough as nails. He's a rookie. The lights are not too bright for him by any means whatsoever. Like LaPorta, just incredible. Because who's behind him, Jeremy? Brock Wright breaks his forearm. We're looking to the Ivy League as an opportunity for this team to like keep things going at tight end, but like not fazed by it at all.
None. I want to give one more credit to someone. You were kind of leading me to Zack Ertz, but I feel like we'll save him for the next segment. And it's not a player, but I don't know how you feel about this, Jeremy, but this might be one of the best games Aaron Glenn's called.
Yeah.
Outside of like, you know, before the end of the half, which is, you know, they're in tempo. It's hard to stop them when they're going that fast. And you're just sending the blitz one too many times. But Baker Mayfield came in as hot as any quarterback has been. And Lions didn't really let them run the ball, which meant they had to, I mean, Rachaad White got a few for himself, but that is a offense that has a lot of varied weapons to worry about. And you made Baker Mayfield uncomfortable all day long. All day long. Sacked him 4 times. Should have probably had a 5th if that play gets looked at a little bit more closely. Just took two away from him. But like, I think that was for all of this for everything Aaron Glenn's gone through with the fans this year about what are you doing, questions about zone versus man, all this other stuff where fans think they're smarter than the guys running the defense. Like, how was that to take that offense and just make them really just struggle? Because once again, the defense's job in the modern NFL is to make sure you can keep pace or make the other team make mistakes enough that they lose basically what is a back and forth serve in tennis. And the Lions led wire to wire once again. And there were times when Tampa Bay brought hella defense. Like, this game started with the Lions going 3 and out. For a team that wants to always have I don't want to use the word. I'm trying not to use the word around Jeremy. But you know what I mean? They want to, it's a pace. It's a pace. They want to be the ones who dictate the pace.
Right.
And they couldn't. And we got worried. And then we see, oh, this is a lot of pressure that Aaron Glenn's dialing up. Oh, CJ Gardner-Johnson's getting that interception. Like, this was the best defensive strategy I've seen Aaron Glenn do.
I think what's phenomenal about it is that Aaron Glenn has one arm tied behind his back. Let's just be honest. This team does not have an outside corner worth starting right now. And my apologies to Cam Sutton. He's in some sort of rut right now that he can't seem to get out of. I know he's capable of being a starting cornerback in this league, but he has not played like it for a month. And to be missing those 2 key pieces, 2 outside corners against guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Puka Nacua and whoever else the Lions have been facing over the past 2 months, Glenn has been fighting his ass off, man. And to be able to create these pressures, to create these packages, when you know the other offensive coordinator is thinking, this team cannot create any pressure unless they're actually throwing 4, 5, 6 guys at us. We need to be ready for all of these looks. And it seemed like every single time on Sunday night, Aaron Glenn had an answer to find an unblocked defender, to make Baker Mayfield uncomfortable, to make him get out of the pocket, to make him hurry a throw that gets overthrown and eventually tipped in interception, or to just get him sacked. 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 4 punts. You take that kind of performance every single time. And in fact, you look back, holding the Bucs to 23, pretty good. Holding the Rams to 23, great. holding the Vikings to 20, holding the Cowboys to 20, holding the Vikings again to 24, holding the Broncos to 17. They've been doing this for 2 months now. And I think maybe we've just been overlooking it. But I agree with you, Chris. I thought Sunday's game was one of his best.
If I could just give some numbers real quick, because Baker was almost perfect in the regular season against the blitz. Pro Football Focus. Looking at Baker's numbers, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a passing grade of 74.4, which admittedly pretty good. I mean, that put him like 12th among quarterbacks against the blitz. On Sunday against the Lions, a 48.3 grade, a touchdown and an interception. He was sacked on 3 of his 21 dropbacks against the blitz on Sunday. In the regular season, though, Baker was only sacked 7 times on 153 dropbacks. Like, there was an element to that game that it's not the offensive line, it's not the center making the right calls and the right reads in terms of who to pick up and who to, like, there were some plays where, like, it's Baker's responsibility to hit a hot read, right?
There were guys coming off the edge uncontested all night long.
You had Waluigi, Aiden Hutchinson off the edge, like putting Baker in a panic, like putting him in a torture chamber. You know what I mean? And again, all credit in the world to Aaron Glenn to be like, hey, like, I have a guy who can come unblocked, and I'm going to force Baker to make those reads and he didn't.
Yeah.
And he didn't. For a guy who, I don't know if there's a guy who's done more with less on this football team than Aaron Glenn.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the one addition the Lions added this week and maybe a little bit of San Francisco, because we're on to San Francisco. That's right. We'll be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. I didn't bring up the funniest play, though, which, like, was that I think it was Cam Sutton, so eager to get on and ready to blitz that he just completely failed to stop. Was that? No,
I think it was Branch.
It was Brian Branch.
That was Branch. Yes, it was Branch. My bad. But Branch was so eager to get in there.
Sutton had the big tackle for loss on that play, I think.
Yes. Yeah. That's where I got it confused. But, like, poor Brian was just so eager to get in there. He just overshot his stop.
We have a coaching hire.
I did see that too.
The Titans have a new head coach.
Ryan Callahan, the offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. A man with Detroit ties, working with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
That's who they replaced Mike Vrabel with?
Yeah.
Yep.
What a dumb franchise.
It's the Titans shouldn't exist. I'm sorry. What you get for keeping the Oilers stuff.
How many head coaching gigs
Commanders,
are there still available?
Chargers, Falcons, Patriots, Seahawks.
Not Patriots.
Patriots.
Not Patriots. Seahawks.
I think
I swear I'm missing
I think it's 5.
I swear I'm. So, hold on, let me start again. Commanders, Falcons, Seahawks, Chargers.
I have a tracker for this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Panthers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think you got him.
Swaka Kaze fan, we did. Jeremy did. But yeah, that Gibbs blitz pickup was his best rep all year long. And I know Jeremy didn't see it the same way, but I thought it was super ticky-tacky on the chop block for David Montgomery. I'm not 100% sure that Graham Glasgow engaged and got there before he did, but...
Well, thankfully, I mean, we had I feel like we want to talk about ticky-tacky. That I'll take that as far as a makeup for not Kirby Joseph somehow avoiding a personal foul, standing over Kate Otten, was it?
Yeah.
I am still shocked that there was no flag thrown.
I'm still of the belief that taunting should be allowed. So.
No, I know.
Taunting should be allowed and encouraged.
Encouraged.
You should get a 5-yard penalty for getting
like they
teabagged.
zoomed in on K-Dot's face. He had Kirby over here. He was like, "What am I supposed to do here? I can't get up."
5-yard penalty, getting teabagged. Get up and stand up for yourself.
Oh, we're doing
otherwise
Halo
I'm gonna
rules
flag
now.
you.
So how many jobs are left?
5.
Okay, so there's 5, and we have to assume that Belichick's getting one of them. I don't know if we can assume that Jim Harbaugh is going to get one of them, but
it feels like Chargers are bust.
Where does Mike Vrabel fit into all of this? Like,
Dan Quinn has been interviewed by just about everybody.
I'm just saying that, there's like only so many chairs. And when the music stops,
let's get our hopes up that both coordinators return is what you're trying to say.
What you're saying is the longer the Lions remain in the playoffs.
Yeah, maybe that's helped. I don't know. Again, like tinfoil hat, maybe that helps with a bunch of franchises and organizations that are looking for head coaches. They have it in their minds that they need to hurry up and hire one before they get left without one. So, yeah, maybe it does help that the Lions winning has put those franchises, what they feel like, in a tough spot. But it just seems unlikely now that the Lions will lose both.
Right.
Like it seems kind of unlikely if you're playing the numbers game. Not saying that it won't happen. It could happen.
I'm trying to think, like, what is...
The Commanders are kind of the wild card. I feel like the Commanders, they could...
I think that's where Ben Johnson's going, if I'm being completely honest.
I think so, I could also see Aaron... I guess I would say I could see either guy going, either Glenn or Johnson going to the Commanders.
Yeah. I don't see them going defense, though, after firing around Rivera. Like, I feel like that feels like a... Hey, because the other thing, too, is...
But I also don't think you're hiring Aaron Glenn as a defense guy. You're hiring him because he's a leader. Because he would be someone to lead an organization.
Right. But I mean, it feels like with all coaching hires, and don't even look further than the Lions, right? Like every coaching hire feels like a pushback against what was before it, right? Matt Patricia couldn't develop a culture whatsoever. What did the Lions do? They hired a culture guy. Like it feels like, I don't know. I just think, and Jeremy, like you said, Ben Johnson to Washington, they have the 2nd overall pick.
Yeah.
They can get a quarterback. They have some guys there already on offense. Like, the NFC East feels like it's a house of cards, too. Like, if I'm Ben Johnson, like, I could be successful in the NFC East. Like, what's going on? Like, where are the Eagles going to be a year from now? The New York Giants, are they any closer?
How long do the Cowboys have before this all kind of collapses?
Yeah. Dave Canales get any head coaching interviews?
I'm not sure. I feel like he did.
I feel like he could be a name that could end up somewhere. You have the year that you do with Baker Mayfield.
Sorry, I'm distracted because people are talking about this report that Hank Fraley could be Ben Johnson's offensive coordinator, and I'm trying to. It seems like it's something that Pelissero may have said in a video, but I need to hear the specifics of his language before.
Could we maybe? Can you give me the power to share screen, and I could, while you're doing that, I can play calls of the game while you look that up.
Sure. I see.
Have you just give me permission to do that?
I have to figure out how I do that. Since I'm recording, people aren't going to be able to. Well, yeah, they will.
I can share the audio,
but then I can't listen to the thing. Otherwise, the people are going to hear my audio go over that.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah. Shit.
Wait, let's just. I'm going to watch this real quick.
Okay. You do that. I'm going to figure out why my browser is using 6 gigabytes of memory.
C is for cookie 49ers.
Let's skip to.
former superstar player who has emerged as a very good team has rubbed off on Aaron Glenn. He embodies that. That is one reason why teams are taking a hard look at him.
Ian, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson also has been busy interviewing for the Chargers, Commanders, Panthers, and Seahawks head coaching jobs in the past 48 hours. The Titans and the Falcons also put in interview requests for Johnson. In fact, I'm told Atlanta wants to interview Johnson tonight if the Lions win, which would meet the deadline, allowing them to conduct a second interview with him during the bye week before the Super Bowl if Detroit advances that far. Also worth noting, Lions offensive line coach Hank Fraley could end up following Johnson wherever he goes as Johnson's offensive coordinator. Meanwhile,
Okay. So just as an aside, he says Hank Fraley could join Ben Johnson wherever he goes as the offensive coordinator.
Imagine there's straws out here.
It's an interesting thing to point out, right? Like, if he's not just saying that to say it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it would be something that would be likely for a guy, like take somebody that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And that that's with for many, many years.
That's standard for everybody. Like,
right.
That's maybe some of the part of all of this that is being unsaid that needs to be said is, like, if the Lions lose a coordinator, that's not all they're going to lose. They're going to lose a positional coach or two. Hank would be a real tough one, and I'd be a little bit surprised, quite honestly, because he doesn't. To me, he screams I want to be an offensive line coach forever type of guy, but I don't know Hank Fraley that well. He's not a man of many words. He isn't a guy who. I think even if you asked him, do you have aspirations to be an offensive coordinator, he probably wouldn't even answer that question. Be like, I'm just focused on the job I have. Like, he's that kind of guy. So it surprised me a little bit, but I assume Pelissero's a professional, and if he's saying it, there's a reason he's saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at when the Saints lost Dan Campbell, they lost Aaron Glenn too.
Right. That's just that's how the business works. Guys, I didn't even think we were going 3 segments, honestly, so I don't really want to watch the calls of the game with you guys.
Okay,
I'd rather
can we just we'll jump right in. I know Ryan's almost out of time too, so let's
Do you want to stick around for the third segment, Ryan, or you got to go?
I'll stick around.
I can redo the end if we just want to end it there after all the after breaking down the players. We don't need to talk about Zack
Let's just
Ertz.
do like 10 minutes. Let's do 10 minutes.
I wasn't expecting that long for a third segment anyway. Like, we're already at like 50 minutes.
I was just hopeful for a snow day tomorrow. A lot of schools are calling off now, but not ours, and that makes me nervous.
All right, yeah. We're gonna jump right into a third segment here.
Let's do it. We'll make a quick one as soon as it hits 10 on my timer. I'll start waving my hands and get us to wrap up. Mostly just talk Zack Ertz.
And the 49ers. I don't think I can go 10 minutes on Zack Ertz, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, I think the end of the podcast will just be some emotion coming back up again, bringing it full circle around. So we'll see.
Yeah, Woodchuck Hunter, that's a good point. Would Frank Ragnow tap out early? You're damn right.
Anyway.
WWFD, what would Frank do?
Pride to Detroit PODcast. Last segment here is going to be a bit of a short one. We have a few moments, a few pieces to clean up right now. One of the unfortunate things that happened from Bucks Lions. Jeremy, maybe you can help me with this because I did not see the play where
I don't know.
Wright got hurt. No one really did. You didn't either?
Nope.
Like, did you get any clarity where he got hurt, where he broke his forearm?
No, well, forearm. It doesn't matter. He broke his forearm. Okay. He's going to go on IR.
Okay. I just think fans were just confused as to where it happened. I'm assuming it was a special teams play or something, but certainly didn't see it. Either way, very unfortunate, especially after seeing the actions Wright got almost literally to a T on the the same touchdown he caught, against the Jets.
Yep.
Yeah. It has left, however, the Lions in a bit of a hole. Sam LaPorta is your primary tight end who is still dealing with his knee, and James Mitchell is on IR, and Brock Wright's not going to be available. But I never thought I could see this, that a veteran who wants to play for a championship contender, released late in the year, coming on to join the Detroit Lions, Ryan. Zack Ertz, formerly of the Arizona Cardinals, before that, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think some people kind of expect that his play has dipped, but like his catch rate has still been what it's been throughout his entire career. It's just he's been playing with, the problem for him has been he was struggling the last couple of years to stay healthy, and asked for the Cardinals to release him this year. So, but yeah, go on.
Well, yeah, I mean, signed to the Lions practice squad. So there's like still some hurdles in terms of him getting to the active roster. I don't foresee them preventing him, because who else, right? At this point, if you're the Lions, who else? And looking at Ertz, you get a pro's pro, right? I mean, he's been around the block. He's done this for so long, and I know people were clamoring about Ertz being a possible replacement for when LaPorta initially got hurt, and it just ends up coming to fruition. But Jeremy, that like Chris said, there hasn't been a player of a high profile name, sack up with the Lions for a playoff run, partially because it hasn't happened, and maybe everybody's forgetting about Dwight Freeney and his illustrious run with the Detroit Lions. But yeah, I guess, Jeremy, the question is, like, what, if any, kind of impact do you think Ertz could have in a conference championship game, and how much would they be putting on his plate?
I mean, not a lot. I get everyone's excited. It's a Pro Bowler. It's a guy that's signing to the Lions for a championship run, but he's not going to take away from Sam LaPorta's 80-90% of the snaps. He might not even be tight end 2 for this upcoming game. Like, that might be Anthony Ferkser, a guy who knows the playbook back and front because he's been with the team. At this point, Zack Ertz just kind of an extra body, and I understand he's a good receiver and still can bring it, and was pretty productive for the Cardinals over the past 2 years, and he even has a relationship with Steve Hyden, the Lions tight end coach, where there was overlap during his time with Arizona. But he's coming in the middle of a week, in the middle of a playoff run, and like you said, he's on the practice squad. There's no guarantee he even gets called up for this NFC championship game, although I doubt the Lions would go into this game with only 2 healthy tight ends. So he'll probably be there and active, but I mean, this guy isn't going to catch like 70 yards and a touchdown in the NFC championship game.
No, you just want him to you just want him to be able to take some load off of Sam LaPorta, so Sam LaPorta is not playing 100% of the snaps. And still have the other team respect you when you put a tight end out there that isn't Sam LaPorta.
I mean, Jason Kambinda's still on this roster too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, the Lions could get I don't know, not cute's the wrong word, but like they can move some stuff around, and they can give the 49ers maybe some other looks that they might not be anticipating because of the spot that they're in. But yeah, I don't know. Keep your expectations low, right? That's what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like Brock Wright, he's taking Brock Wright's role. Like, it's either him or Ferkser. It's not even about Sam LaPorta at all. And to be quite honest, Zack Ertz isn't anywhere close to the same player as a guy like Brock Wright. He's not really much of a blocker in general. It's not that he's unwilling, it's just not his strength. And I think what the Lions are more so looking for in this position is a guy who can block, who can be part of their run game plan. And I think when the Lions go to 12 personnel, it's not going to be Sam LaPorta and Zack Ertz. It's going to be Sam LaPorta and either, like you said, maybe they bring back Rodrigo, but I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe it's Kambinda instead. Maybe it's a jumbo tight end in what's his name? Big
more
tall
Dan Skipper packages.
Yeah. Or maybe it's Ferkser.
Maybe it's Jalen Reeves-Maybin. I don't know.
Who knows?
Could be anybody.
I don't know.
Could be anything.
It's a fun signing. It's cool to say that he's joining the Lions for a ring and all that sort of stuff. But this movie actually doesn't move the radar too much for me. I think it's just an emergency body.
I think this is a good way to set up for another topic. Then, do you you think he will be active though for San Francisco?
Yeah,
correct?
I think the Lions would be smart to have 3 healthy tight ends.
Let me ask you another question then. And I know there's a lot of factors in play, but we're sitting here on a Monday. Do you think James Houston is active for the Detroit Lions in San Francisco? Because a lot of fans have had the question about when is James Houston going to play? Is he ready to play? Can he play?
I think he will. I think the Lions have really just been taking it patient with this process. There really would be no point in activating him at all if they didn't expect at some point he's going to be ready and he's going to help us. So you got 2 games left. Either you did that because you think if we make the Super Bowl, then he'll help us, or you thought, let's give him 1 more week. We think we can beat the Bucs, and maybe he's going to help us against Brock Purdy and the 49ers. I think we do see it. And it'll be a question he's probably asked 2 or 3 times this week, but it's been enough now. He's had a full month to practice at this point. I think that's plenty of time for a guy who had been out for 4 months or whatever it is. It's not going to be like a starting role. He's not going to go out there and play 40 snaps on defense, but as a rotational pass rush specialist, the Lions could sure use someone opposite Aiden Hutchinson so that they don't have to, like we just said, against the Buccaneers, like come up with these exotic blitz packages that force you to lose a guy in the secondary. Now maybe you got a guy like James Houston and your NASCAR packages, which have been dreadful this year in terms of just sending 4 pass rushers. Maybe now you have an extra weapon there and another tool in your arsenal to take down Brock Purdy.
All right. Any other thoughts as we move on to San Francisco? First blush. Anything about that? This stick out to you right now? Any questions in your mind as we look ahead to, don't believe I can say this, the conference championship?
Well, I guess going back to what Jeremy just said about James Houston potentially being activated, and even if he's only in a pass rush specialist role, which is all you can really assume that he would be in, Brock Purdy's been pretty darn good against the blitz this year. Like, he's really, really good. This is the monster, man. Like, even though this isn't being treated as David versus Goliath, the 49ers came in with the 4th best odds this year to win the Super Bowl. And they're one of only 2 teams left that are standing of those 4. And it's the Chiefs and the 49ers. And even when these playoffs started, the 49ers were minus odds. They were minus 125 to win the NFC. They're really good. But I think the thing that is so interesting and fascinating to me for this week, Chris, Jeremy, it's how the Lions are built a lot like the 49ers offensively. We saw what Penei Sewell has done all his entire career here, right? But like even last week against the Bucs, when Penei is pulled from the right side all the way to the left side and he's blowing people up. That's what Trent Williams does for Christian McCaffrey, right? That's what Penei Sewell does for Jahmyr Gibbs. Sam LaPorta is a guy that you can put right next to George Kittle in terms of like their effectiveness as receivers. Especially, sure. I mean, there's a lot of growing pains that have gone on with Sam, but what has been Dan Campbell's line about Sam LaPorta, Jeremy? He only makes a mistake once, right? And he learns from it. So there's been a lot of growth there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who knows if we'll see Debo Samuel because he's 50-50, but like there's so many Spider-Man pointing memes between this Lions offense and the San Francisco offense that I think it's fascinating. And I'm really looking forward to it.
People in the chat right now are calling me wet blanket because of my comments about Zack Ertz. Let me try to warm you up with a nice dry blanket here. Because
nice dry blanket.
I don't know. Warm and dry blanket. Because you're right. These teams are both built the same way offensively. And what is the basis of both teams' offense? Running the football. It's what they pride themselves on. It's what they're built. It's how they're built in terms of their offensive line and the high capital that both teams placed on their backfield. Let me ask you a question. Which one of these defenses is built to stop the run? The number 1 DVOA run defense or the number 15 that gave up 108 rushing yards to Aaron Jones last week? 4.9 a carry to the Packers overall, 136 yards. When's the last time the Lions gave up 136 yards and 4.9 a carry to a running back? To any team. It's been a while.
Yeah. It's been a while.
This Packers team, I'm with you. A week ago, I would have been like, this team has no shot against the 49ers. They're in a different class. We've said it all year. There's the Ravens, the 49ers, maybe a team or two else. And then there's Lions tier after that. But after watching the Packers take down the team, you could make an argument that the Packers played a lot like how the Lions want to play. Running the ball, setting up play action. If the Packers can take it to the 49ers, and by all means probably should have won that game on the road in San Francisco. I know it was rainy and Brock Purdy wasn't at his best, and we are expecting sunny skies in Santa Clara this week. I understand all of that. But offensively speaking, I'm not that scared of the 49ers, and if the Lions run defense can show up again, which they have for 90% of the season, maybe 95% of the season, it's going to be a close ball game. And I wasn't surprised by the 6.5, 7-point spread, but I'm not afraid of it either.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to bring up though, with the Lions offense and the 49ers offense and play action too, right? Like there's no quarterback in the NFL who has a higher rating grade out of play action than Brock Purdy. But if they're up against a team that can stop the run and keep them honest in that way, what does that do to the 49ers offense? How does the complexity of the game change? I will say the one thing that I thought was most shocking about Lions Bucks was nobody or their mother thought the Bucks were going to come in to Ford Field and run the ball the way that they did.
Sure. That
felt jarring, and that felt like a missed opportunity by Tampa Bay when they dug themselves into a little bit of a hole and they had to go away from the run. This, to Jeremy, to your point, I do think that this doesn't seem as tall of a task as it did maybe 3 weeks ago to beat the 49ers, just because it feels like there's at least an opportunity for Detroit to dictate the pace of the game if things start the right way, right?
Sure.
It feels like if the Lions can get out to the start that they want to, I don't know, is this 49ers team, are they built to come from behind in a way where there's more pressure on Brock Purdy to play more hero ball? I don't know, right? Like I don't know if the 49ers have really been put in this spot a whole lot this year. But
could find out.
I think what I know about the Lions right now is that they've proven that they are able to hang with any team you throw at them here near the end of the season. There's not many times you've been able to catch them unawares in a season, and especially right now, they seem to grow just stronger with the pressure you put on them. And here it is. This will be the pressure cooker. This will be the real one. And you're going on the road, a big underdog. We can talk about it like we talked about last week, saying you're playing with house money. Lions don't see it that way. Lions see it as just another way for them to, another game where they have to go to work, do their business, and impose their will. And we, on the sidelines, we get to watch it because it's fun and it's cool. And the Lions are doing this. All right, let's close this up.
0 fourth quarter comebacks or game-winning drives by Brock Purdy this year.
Very interesting. We'll break it more down on First Bite. We've got a lot more coming this week. Midweek mailbag, Jeremy, or are you just going to
We shall see.
We shall see. Okay. For myself, for Jeremy Reisman, for Ryan Matthews, I'm Chris Perfett. See you Starside. Go Loins.
Recording stopped.
All right.
All right, I can
wanna
get
get outta
Zazu in
here.
here. I can watch call of the game, but after that, I think we're gonna bounce out of here because it's been a long week and it's been a long week. It's Monday.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce right now. Actually, I have to be at work early tomorrow, and I have no groceries, so I'm going to go take care of that.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. See everyone soon.
Bye. Lemon, it's Monday exactly. Oh boy, hold on. All right, call of the game. Let's just do that. Let's knock it out of the way. Ryan, you can go too if you want.
Oh,
These are words.
I was surprised that Chris just jettisoned out of here.
Yeah, that happened.
I'll stick around.
Right.
I'll watch calls of the game. Why not?
All right, it's only 5 minutes. Screen share. Let me just do that. That. More. Share sound.
Now
Hold on. I'm not ready yet. Desktop so you guys can all see it. All right, here we go.
Now it is Godwin who goes in motion to the right side as well. There's the shotgun snap to Mayfield, who's back and wants to throw. Mayfield gonna get hit, gonna go down. Sack back at the 36-yard line. Ifatu Melifonwu with a blitz, got him.
He gave him the ice in the veins thing.
To get off the field.
Oh,
Chase Edmonds checks
I see Twitter on my screen right now, Jeremy.
You see Twitter?
I see Next Gen Stats, Jahmyr Gibbs tweet.
Weird. Sorry, chat. Ryan ruined everything.
Sorry. we can start back. Yeah, you guys see it. I want to see it too.
Share screen. Sorry. It's actually my fault. Wait, which one? Oh, shit.
I see it now.
Which one do you see, though? There's two of them. I don't know. Do you see that?
Now it is Godwin who
Is it
goes
playing?
in
I hear
motion to
it.
the right side as
Yep.
well.
Okay.
There's the shotgun snap to Mayfield, who's back and wants to throw. Mayfield gonna get hit, gonna go down. Sack back at the 36-yard line. Ifatu Melifonwu with a blitz, got him. Chance for this defense to get off the
What's in
field.
that
Chase
Dasani
Edmonds
bottle?
checks in at running back. He's to the right of Mayfield, who's in the gun. There's the snap. Lions rush 3. Mayfield throws over the middle, knocked up in the air, picked off by the Lions, intercepted. It is picked up by CD Deuce, trying to come back across the
Oh, we called him
50-yard
CD
line,
Deuce.
and he is taken down inside the 45 and shoved out of bounds to the 39.
It's a pretty good
The
return.
Lions with a takeaway early in this one. Knocked up in the air, CD Deuce ran under it, and the Lions with a takeaway. They've got it in Bucs territory. Mayfield
Double
up
down
under
on the
center,
CD
White
Deuce.
alone back
Yeah, he
behind him. Mayfield fakes the give, sets in the pocket, gonna get hit, gonna go down, taken down back at the 36-yard line. Brian Branch got him on the blitz. Here comes Goff now. There's the snap.
A lot
Goff
of
back
defensive
off, looking Goff, sets,
highlights.
throws, middle caught. Oh my goodness, LaPorta, what a grab. Down at the 31-yard line, had a man draped all over him that time. Carlton Davis behind him. 3rd and 5 for Detroit. Goff back, drifting right, setting, throwing, end zone, wide open, caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions, Josh Reynolds. Lions show 5 across that defensive front. Blitz comes, Mayfield back, gonna get hit, gonna go down. Sack back at the 49-yard line. Aiden Hutchinson got him. That is a
big
big-time play for that Lions defense as they'll force a Tampa Bay punt. On 3rd down, Goff turns, fakes the give, wants to throw, looks, got a man wide open left side. Brock Wright, 50-yard line, cuts back at the 45. Brock to the 40.
Hold on to
Brock
it.
to the 35.
Hold on to
Brock
it.
from behind and taken down inside the Tampa Bay 30 and down to the 25-yard line.
Doesn't look injured there.
Brock Wright, big grab, 30 yards from Jared Goff on 3rd down and 1. That is Jared Goff up under center. Craig Reynolds, the single back. Goff turns, gives to Reynolds, straight ahead to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 13, I see you. Big time running. How about those guys up front? Dealing with Vita Vea, opening it up, and the Lions get the go-ahead score.
Celebration before.
There's the snap to Jared. He's back. Jared looks. Jared throws middle. It is caught. That is Reynolds with it. Josh down to the 40-yard line and down to the 39. Goff will move in behind center, offset eye behind him, up back Kabinda, deep back Gibbs. Goff turns, Gibbs to Gibbs over the left side. There he goes inside the 30, inside the 25. Gibbs, speed, 10, 5, end zone, touchdown,
Yes, sir.
Detroit Lions, turning on the Jets. Jahmyr Gibbs running away from the defenders, and the Lions are back on top. 9:05 to go in the game. They lead by 7. Goff's got it, drifts back. Goff looking, Goff throwing. It is caught in Bucs territory. Amon-Ra St. Brown fighting for the first down, and he got it. Oh, 14. You are something else, man. You are something else. Lions from the Bucs 40 with a first down. Goff back, wants to throw. Pressure comes. Goff looks, throws. It is caught. Gibbs 30, Gibbs 25. Gibbs to the left sideline, down to the 20-yard line.
I thought he was going to turn that
run
corner.
Out of bounds there by McCollum. Jared leans in. There's the snap. Jared back. Jared looks. Jared throws right side. It is caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Nice pass.
It was unbelievable pass. That's
Jared
a
Goff with the
perfect pass.
delivery.
There's-
14 with the catch.
there's
And
the
the Lions
Baker
with an
dance.
extra point give it double up their lead with 6:22 to play.
Man, Dan, look. He's dropping dimes, nickels, quarters. Jared is dropping it all out there today. Beautiful pass from number 16.
Yeah,
Baker
low
leans in.
man.
There's the snap. Blitz comes. Mayfield back. Loads. Throws. Picked up by the Lions. Intercepted by the Lions. Intercepted by the Lions. Derrik Barnes. Derrik Barnes. Derrik Barnes. Oh, baby. 1:33 to go. The Lions are going to San Francisco. Derrik Barnes with the interception. Oh, baby. Stand up, Ford Field. Look at this.
Woo!
Look at this. First career interception for Derrik Barnes, and how big is that?
Yes, man. Yes.
Pressure by Kaminsky up the middle there.
55, dropping back into coverage, reaching up, making the grab. Oh, baby, it's beautiful. Lions will break the huddle and go into victory formation. There's the snap. Goff takes a knee.
Yes.
Todd Bowles quits.
That clock is moving. They're not stopping it. They're not stopping it. They are not stopping it. Hey, Detroit, you're going back to the NFC Championship game.
Sir.
We're going to San Francisco.
Yes, sir. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
There's the knee, and that's it.
Yes.
Oh, Detroit. Two teams will meet out in the middle of the field to say job well done. Job better done on this night by your NFC North champion Detroit Lions, who are going to the NFC Championship game, where they will see San Francisco next week with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line.
The Super Bowl,
Hi,
dude.
I'm Nicole Hawk.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
We don't need to talk about Sandy Hook, but thank you.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course that was great. It's good stuff. All right, guys. Oh, let me thank some subscribers real quick because I forgot last segment. Paul Onion, thank you for the 17 months to subscribe to the channel. Says, I was at the Ravens game at Ford Field in 2021 when everyone in the stadium booed Sheila. Look where we're at now. Please let that be the only memory of that game that carries with you. Captain James Kirk, 50 bits, says we're on to San Francisco for two reasons: Iffy and the Detroit Lions. I tried, chat. I tried real hard. I had him set up perfectly. Nick the Creek, 100 bits, says the NFC Championship Lions team was made possible by Matt Patricia's ample bosoms. Counterintuitive, the nacho cheese effect.
Kind of. I mean, it's what led the Buccaneers into town.
True. Quirky Zerky, 4 bits, says bring on the cleat show. I'll leave all the officiating graping to Eric. I think it's silly. Nick the Greek, 100 more bits, says Dan Pask had to let Peter Thiel drink his spinal cord fluid in exchange for tickets to the NFC Championship game.
What?
Jesus Christ. Hey, K-Paul, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. David, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube. We don't get a lot of memberships over there on YouTube, and so very much appreciate it. Enjoy some of the emotes that are available to you. Show them off. Brag to your friends. You're one of like 5 people on YouTube who has access to some of our emotes.
Talk about exclusivity.
Right? Only 5 people in the world can say that on YouTube. Twitch might be a different story. Poker Mad, thank you for the follow. And Nick Derrick, another 100 bits, says Steven Ruiz said that Jack Campbell sets off the, quote, white Big Ten linebacker siren is in Kyle Shanahan's office. I don't understand that sentence. I don't know how to pronounce this. Frogs, let's say. Frogs _ Jimbo. Thank you for the tier 1 subscription. Blah, blah, blah. Over here on Twitch. First time subscriber as well. Enjoy the ad-free experience, all the emotes, and getting them channel points quicker than everyone else. Appreciate it. I'm coming, Amy. I don't think Ryan is going to San Francisco.
I'm not. That's expensive.
It's a little expensive.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, if the Lions win and they go to the Super Bowl, like, what? I don't know what to do.
I don't know either. I'm hoping we can get full. As I said in the first segment, and I was being truthful. Like, we've been spending a good portion of today working out Super Bowl credentials, and where we're at now, which is the good news part of it, is that SB Nation has got me credentialed, and I think they're going to pay for some of the travel. The bad news is that it's not full credentials. It's, I forgot the word they use for it, like auxiliary credentials, which means I don't have a seat in the press room. I have a seat for a TV in the press room, which sucks. I wouldn't be able to watch the game. I'd be watching the game inside of Allegiant Stadium on a TV inside Allegiant Stadium, which is
not the same.
Not the same. But I was told it could change. Like, I already have that. It could change if the Lions win.
Could only go up from here.
So we'll see. Fingers crossed. For some reason, I had assumed we were in as a regular Lions beat writer, but it's not. The problem is it's not really up to the Lions completely. There are obviously a billion people that are coming to be credentialed and national writers and things like that. So it would make sense. I don't know why I didn't think about it before, that some local beat writers aren't going to get as much treatment as they would in a normal road game. Anyways. No, I'm not necessarily going to the Super Bowl regardless. Basically what SB Nation did was make sure that everyone was still in the playoffs applies. And so, like, I am currently one of the placeholder. One of the San Francisco writers is also a placeholder that has been approved. It's just whoever wins goes, essentially. So I'm credentialed for the entire week. It's working on the game day credentials now. Assuming
Liam saying the PFF podcast guys were saying they struggled to get credentials for the Super Bowl.
There you go.
So, hot ticket item, that Super Bowl.
It turns out, yeah. Huh. I mean, listen, I didn't know how any of this works, obviously, because this always just been a distant dream of a Lions beat writer to cover the Super Bowl. I don't know. I guess I was under the weird assumption that, like, beat writers of the team would get first crack at it, but thinking about that more is like, oh no, of course they're going to give it to
national people,
Peter King
all day.
And
yeah.
Anyways, that's my
Mitch album.
No comment.
Sorry. Real quick, I know you put this in Slack, Jeremy. I didn't see this part of the information about the viewership on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, like, average of 40.4 million viewers.
Yeah.
It's at its peak in the final minutes. 49.1 million people tuned into the broadcast, and it was the most watched NBC Sports NFL divisional game since 1994.
That's pretty crazy.
That's 30 years.
It's 30 years. Last time Lions won the division.
Yeah, last time they won the division.
That's right. Man, we didn't even get a chance to write a story about the Lions hosting a watch party for the NFC Championship game until
that brought me back.
I was going to write a story either tomorrow or I thought about writing it once tickets were released at 3 p.m. today. Now there's no point in it because they've already sold out.
Yeah, they gone. That takes me back to my days of going to Palace Vision for Pistons games.
God. I went to Joe Vision once. It was for the Stanley Cup Finals that they got swept against the Devils. It was worst. It was the worst sporting event I've ever been to because, first of all, Joe Vision on that like weird 9-panel TV was horrible. It's not a good way to watch a hockey game where you're following a tiny puck on a TV that's horrible quality and way far away from you. It was the dumbest thing ever. Not to mention the fact that they just got worked and everyone was pissed.
Dude, every time I went to Palace Vision, though, they lost. Like, I went to Game 2 of the 2004 NBA Finals, and it was the only game that the Pistons lost in that Finals. And then the other time I went was in 2007 for the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6 against the Cavaliers. And that was like the end of the dynasty, which was a bummer. But, Jeremy, I'm sure you also saw that it's been 66 years since the Lions won a playoff game on the road.
I have heard that. Which it's not all that surprising considering they'd won one playoff game in 66 years. Turns out that one was at home.
Yeah. Turns out that win also came against who? The San Francisco 49ers to advance to the 1957 NFL championship game.
I've heard such things. Which was like, and then I saw someone was like, oh, that was against the Colts or something who turned into the Baltimore Ravens. Like, all right,
the real question is, what phase is the moon going to be in?
No. We can't talk about that. We're not on the moon beat. That has already been usurped from us.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, just got to find out what uniforms they're wearing on Sunday.
I'm just going to button up my lip, my good friend.
I will say, who was it? The penalty that Iffy got, the defensive holding that was some people thought may have been pass interference. What equipment manager do I need to talk to? Black gloves against jerseys, white jerseys. What are we doing? This is elementary stuff.
I hated that call. I hated the call from the get-go. I just thought it was a bad call. But what I hated most about it was originally called as a pass interference. Like, you saw him do the pass interference.
Yeah.
Then they discussed, and it was a long discussion.
Yeah.
And I think at that point they're like, hey, I don't think it was pass interference. You want to just call it holding and kind of go halfway?
Right, can we meet in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, let's go holding. It's only 5 yards. They won't be as mad.
Dude, there were a lot of instances. I mean, the illegal block in the back on the receiving team, number 19.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's right.
And
they ended up just picking it up. Did they show a replay? Was there a block in the back anywhere?
They went to break. They're like, here's the penalty. Going to break. And I was like, Donovan Peoples-Jones is the guy who caught the ball.
I forgot about that.
And was returning the punt. And then I had to see, like, scrolling through Twitter, I think it was Bianchi who was like, oh, by the way, like, they're picking up that flag. Yeah. And I was like, what's the explanation? Like, was there a block in the back? And then on the broadcast, they said that it was the Buccaneers who had committed the penalty. And I was like, the Buccaneers can't commit a block in the back. They're not blocking.
I mean, I guess on the actual punt itself, like, you could push someone in the back to make sure they don't block it. I don't know.
I guess that's true. Yeah, for that brief moment but where you are blocking.
Yeah, that was odd. And then they picked up the flag, obviously, that was originally called OPI, or they were going to originally call OPI on the Bucs.
Pick play.
Yeah.
But it was within 1 yard line of scrimmage, so
which is probably the right call. But that's an impossible play for Alex Anzalone to make.
Yeah, that's like that. I understand. Like even on replay, I was like, okay, yeah, it looks like it's within a yard of the line of scrimmage. But I was also like, that feels like a cheat code that every offense should use.
Right.
Because Anzalone was, that's the thing I'm the most concerned about coming in this week.
It is
Fred Warner. Oh my God.
It is interesting because I have seen some people start to speculate that like the fix is in for the Lions. They want the Lions so bad in the Super Bowl. They want it so bad. And if that's the case, my answer to that is, why has it taken them so long to want the Lions to win? Like, why did they wait 70 years?
They missed out on all these TV ratings for 70 years, right? But then there's also those other people that are like, sports books want the Lions to lose because there's so much money on them.
I like that you're going the ASMR route now.
I didn't know if I wanted to do it because it felt very much like a Kyle Barber move.
I haven't heard much from Kyle. We're conference championship buddies now.
Yeah. Oh man, that felt very. When you said that, it felt very much like a segue into Paul Rudd on Hot Ones. Look at us.
Look at us. Baltimore. Why are you guys so mean to Kyle Barber, including you, Ryan? You feed into it.
I like to play into it. Kyle's a good guy. I'll say that 7 days out of the week.
But once he shows up in chat, then you stop saying it. We all stop saying it when Kyle's here, let's be honest.
Right.
When he's here, we mean to him.
I'll say it 7 days out of the week, but on Thursday, first bite, if the Lions are playing the Ravens in the Super Bowl, I won't have anything nice to say about Kyle Barber. Ooh, a lot of people with the second best Kyle.
Ooh. I mean,
behind our Italian friend.
D. Dominicantanio did put up a good showing in 2023.
What? Yeah. Great attitude. Big time donator.
Listen, they're just raising the level. It's a Kyle bloodbath between the two.
The Lions 2022 linebacker room.
That's right. Nick, you seem to be in charge of the I Hate Kyle Barber fan club. I'm not sure what happened there.
Why does Nick have a green star next to his name in chat? What does that mean?
That's a good question.
I'm Twitch illiterate. It says cheer 75K.
He's cheered 75,000 bits in his Pride of Detroit career. He's earned that star.
And Nick, I'll tell you this. This is something I mentioned to Jeremy off stream and in Slack. Part of the reason why I wanted the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is because I thought that you would probably donate 1 million bits during Matt Patricia week returning to Ford Field. I felt like there was a missed opportunity there for you to donate more bits than anybody has ever donated on Twitter or on Twitch. So I was rooting for you, man.
All right. We're going to get out of here. But if you want to stick around here on Twitch for more football talk, we're going to go raid our good friend Bridget Case. I know she's got to be thrilled for the Lions. I think we've made her Lions fans by proxy. Normally a Chargers fan, but a big football fan. Awesome sports content. She does a lot of live streams during games. So if you're looking for a place to hang maybe during the Lions game on Twitch or YouTube, Bridge Case is one of the people that I would highly recommend hanging out with for a while because she knows her stuff. She's entertaining. She's got a good Twitch channel. She's got good ways to treat the community, make it interactive and all that sort of stuff. So go ahead there. I'm not sure on Midweek Mailbag tomorrow. I haven't talked to Eric about it, but we'll see. Beyond that, we'll have First Bite. I've already reached out to one person. I have not heard back yet, but we'll have someone probably on Thursday night. And then I don't know when we're going to do Man Sim because I fly out Friday afternoon. We'll figure something out. Maybe it's a First Bite straight into Mad Sim night, and I'll never write the preview. Anyways,
maybe it just might be a little bit little tardy on Friday. Might be a little tardy on Friday.
Never. I would never do that. All right, go enjoy Bridget. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for hanging out.